Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Orange Card, Blue Card podcast, now with a brand new look. Shout outs to Stage Zero. You guys might know him as Brian. He does a lot of the back of house production for all of those awesome live streams that you guys see me doing commentary on. And then my guest this week is Charles Crayton. Charles is a new head who reached out to me after seeing my post on Facebook replying to Keenan, saying how most of the new heads don't want to be interviewed, but Charles is here to spill all that knowledge and your experiences as a new player. Thank you for joining me, Charles.
I'm glad to be here. Just a whole bunch of fun time. I've been enjoying the game through the past year. I'm hoping that it continues to evolve and get more into it.
tell me, did you hear about Universus before My Hero Academia, the card game, or was it My Hero that got you started with everything?
I believe I heard about Universus a long time ago. Didn't really put much thought into it, but it was I think a Street Fighter set, and like after that, I didn't even bother anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much when My Hero came out, I had a couple of friends that were talking about, hey, can we come over? I'll teach you this game. You like the My Hero anime? And I was like, played a couple of games, didn't think much of it, and then right before it released, I was like, hey, I want to try to get back into this.
Okay. So you started pretty much day one with the release of set one. And so it was pretty much the IP that got you into it, even if it was like a roundabout way through your friends?
Yeah, it was pretty much the IP and my friends that got me into it.
Okay. So when you were first learning the game and they were demoing you, did the people who were teaching you the game, did they have any experience with Universus, do you know, or was it all brand new for them too?
For most of my friends, we were all learning together. There was one other guy that he might have had some Universus background, but I'm not too sure. I know he was running a shop and he had like some old product at the time, but like I don't know if he just bought into it when the My Hero stuff came out.
Interesting. Yeah, I would imagine if they had old Universus stuff that it was not necessarily something that they bought with My Hero, just because there was that big divide at the beginning, and this is something I've been curious to ask people about is, did you see, or I guess we're privy to, in the very early days, there was a lot of talk about how the My Hero Academia card game is a standalone card game. It's its own card game, and like in the beginning there was a lot of, I guess you could say, controversy around sort of mentioning like old Universus standard cards. Were you like aware of any of that stuff?
I don't look at a lot of Facebook most of the time, but I do believe I recall some of that in the beginning, but like probably just at the start and then didn't think much of it.
Yeah, it was pretty much just like the first couple months at most on Facebook, and then as soon as we started having like organized play events, everyone just kind of shut up, I think. As soon as they saw like the sellout numbers for that first provisional and seeing like promo cards have like even just a modicum of value on the secondary market, I think a lot of people shut up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
No. So as a newer player, one of the things that older players kind of obsess over is how approachable is the card game? Like, how easy is it to just sort of jump in and learn the game? Did you find the game difficult to learn at all? Did it seem more difficult than other card games you've played?
For the most, I would say that I was catching on pretty quick. At like the very first start, I was kind of confused on a little bit of some of the interactions, like with the enhances. But like after like a couple of games, I started getting that like, oh, you can't just use every enhance on the board. It's just like what the attack you play and then your foundations. And then other than that, like I mean, I've played almost every card game under the sea, so I would say it's relatively easy to learn, especially if you're open-minded to the aspect of it.
Okay. Let me ask this. This is kind of off the cuff a bit. Is there a card game that you think is like the hardest to learn? Like, is there one that sticks out at the top of your head as like the most difficult to learn card game?
Oof. What's the hardest game?
Because most are derivative of Magic. So, like, once you have a basic understanding of Magic the Gathering, they're like all of the one energy per turn games just kind of fall in a row, right?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I agree. Man, I'll go in this aspect, and maybe it's because I've been playing since old school Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, I've literally haven't had much issue playing any card game. Like, after a few games, I got it. So I would say probably Magic, from like my friends groups and people in the military. Like, they just don't understand Magic for like the longest time. So maybe Magic's the hardest.
Interesting. Yeah, I think Magic, as far as like jumping into play, can be, but a lot of that comes from like depending on how or when you play, because a lot of people now are actually learning through Commander, and so yeah, when you're learning with like 20-year-old keywords, or you know, like when mutate became a thing, like mutate from Ikoria, where it's like you are casting a spell but not casting a spell, and it is going into play but it's not entering the battlefield, and like all this other little stuff attached to it. I remember thinking, like, there's so many things that I would have never expected to be confusing or quote-unquote difficult, and yet as a casual player who plays pretty much only on Arena, a lot of that stuff just created these really weird card interactions. So I think as far as system mechanics go, UVS might be just a lot of different stuff, right? Like, it's not so much that, like, a control check is easy to understand. It's just you're making like 50 of them throughout a game. You know, it's that when you make a control check, there's certain response windows that open up for like Mina Ashido or Stain or advice for winners, and they all kind of just interact in different ways that maybe you don't expect, but once you learn it, obviously it becomes second nature.
Oh yeah, and I think that's like response windows of between different characters and like actions and stuff like that. I think that's where like My Hero gets its complications. But I think when it's just like playing Foundation, play attack, like it's an easy game. But as soon as you add blue cards, like, oh, this one has a response as its action, or this one's an enhance as its action, like people get lost in the sauce there.
Yeah, I've heard rumors at different times where, especially when thinking about like repackaging the game for newer players, for a new audience, the idea of getting rid of action cards or getting rid of assets to sort of simplify the game, you know, as like an idea there. But man, I feel like we would lose so much if we lost actions. Assets you could maybe make a case for because they're just fancy foundations at the end of the day, even though I think having that separation is really good. To have like effectively a foundation that's so good you can't use its basic function, you know, of committing to pass a check. I think there's a lot of depth there for card design, but as far as actions go, I feel like those are necessary for the game. Do you have a strong opinion on that?
I mean, I would agree with you in the sense of like I would hate to see them go away unless they bring something else to the table to add that flavor in its place. Because if you literally just get rid of all the all the blue and all the green cards, right, and all you have is characters, attacks, and foundations, what's different from Tokiyami and this other character? They're just going to be playing the exact same way. And to be honest, it's like, yeah, it might be hard to learn to play actions in their specific windows, but like it adds the flavor of what that character is trying to do. Especially in the same thing with assets, you know, like Momo creates items. All right, well, you know, that's where that comes from.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me because I feel like you have to have some level of hidden interaction in a game, and so. Like, for Yu-Gi-Oh!, they made trap cards, right? They made, like, here's a literal trap I'm going to place on the field. And so there's some known information, but the main appeal to the trap card is that it is effectively an unknown resource, you know? And Yu-Gi-Oh! Had to power creep that to the point where they needed hand traps, and that's become something that we kind of reference in our game, just because having like a card like Evil Gaze or having like a Sugar Rush can dynamically change the enhanced step, just because a lot of the times you can't afford to always play around a card like that. And so I definitely think we would need to continue having abilities from hand, even if it's on a card like Double Front Beatdown instead of an action card.
Yeah, I could see that. Like I said, as long as you replace it with some flavor. So if it's like, you know, something from the hand, something from the discard pile, removed area, something. As long as like it's just not, oh, I have this response in my foundation.
Yeah, it's man, it's so interesting now. I'm like trying to get off into a completely different topic about like the core elements of the game, but I'm going to try and stay focused on the new player experience here, because that's what most people are interested in, not like my ideas of mechanical identity. But for you as a new player coming into the game, what was like the first deck that you worked on? What was like your first regular deck? What did you gravitate towards?
So I played Deku 1.
Okay, that makes sense. You got the posters.
I played under the order symbol, where it was like an OTK kind of build for a second, and I realized I'm not the biggest fan of this. And then I went back to a good package where I ended up running in a tournament that we were hosting, where we paid $60 to get in, and you got a deck, a playmat, and the entry for the tournament.
Okay.
And I ended up getting Double Front Beatdowns like the day before the tournament and the day of the tournament. So I ran 2 Double Front Beatdowns in the deck.
Speaking of hand traps.
I loved Double Front Beatdown until like the end of that day. I was just like, nope, I don't like this card anymore. This one deck has lost me a game, and I only snuck in the top 4 because I have my ties. I could not kill anybody, even with 10 damage. I left 2 of my opponents at 1 health. I was like, all right, cool.
Hey, you know, but you didn't lose those rounds, which means your defense was shored up, right? You had good defense.
Yeah, I had pretty good defense, and then going into top 4, I had to play my buddy that was playing Kirishima 1 before the Rada, and that was a fun game. I got that against him, and then I got to play for first against the True Form All Might. He was very new to the game. Like, this is the first day he's played, so he was kind of getting coached in it. So it's almost like 2v1 against me, but I won it. So I won it with Deku 1. I was like, oh, Deku 1's the greatest character, and then I start playing more, and I'm like, this character is pretty bad. It's so easy to block this 10 damage move, this plus 10 damage move.
Yeah, it like set 1 Deku for a lot of people really was ride or die on like the Texas Smash into the one singular throw he could use to put.
I actually
that
didn't have
damage
Texas Smashes.
No, okay, yeah, that's fair. That's an ultra rare. That I wasn't like even today. I'm not the biggest fan of that card overall. I feel like it's just a stat stick, but it does represent like 11 damage from a single attack, which was pretty tough to do, and then it sequences really good with plus ultra. So as far as set 1 goes, hard to deny its power, but more and more, like in today's world currently, I definitely don't put Texas Smash into too many decks.
I love Texas Smash.
Yeah. It with Face Shield coming out, like it's just hard to sell me on a combo based lineup, just because people are already down to Faith Shield like whack attacks that you start off with, and now it's like I have to play a whole extra attack to start comboing. Just feels so bad.
I mean, I don't disagree, but like Texas Smash normally isn't like I play Deku 2 a lot, and it's normally like my 3rd card I play.
Yeah.
So right. It's like I'm down for them to face shield my back alley haymaker.
Yeah, I was playing against an Eraserhead one at my locals. We was playing a lot of the Eraserhead 2 combo attacks, and turn 2, I think I'm playing Monoma, and like turn 2 I just face shield like his opening attack that was only for like 6 damage, and he just looked at me and was like, if you didn't face shield that, you were so dead, you know? And then throughout like the next 2 turns, I just draw all the rest of my face shields. I'm literally sitting on 3 face shields, and he like never attacks me again for like the next 20 minutes. It was so crazy. We ended up going to time at my locals, and like, you know, on the turn that they called time, I drew 2 4 damage throws and like had no damage pump. And he's, you know, I just showed him, I'm like, dude, you were never killing me ever again. Like, if one Faith Shield crippled his combo lineup that badly, you know what I mean? He had to wait like 3 full turns, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think Face Shield like kind of dropped in play. Like, I don't think it's played as much as it was like set 2, right? The Rise of set 2.
Yeah, when it came to Faith Shield, early on with set 2, it was just clearly the best symbols, and attacks were blockable. Like, that was, you know, Momo's whole thing is like, she was like, hey guys, what's up? I heard you needed like wall decks. I heard you needed some defense in there. So, it was super, and you know, people were trying to play like combo lineups with Bakugo too early on and stuff like that. Now, attacks are too fast. In set 3, One Wood Nature just says your +3 block mod is basically useless, right?
Yeah. That's a pretty busted card.
You think so?
I do kind of think so. Like, I don't know how to feel about it, to be honest. Like, I think there's times I've looked at it across the board and I'm like, all right, cool. It's not that bad.
Right.
But as soon as you play against like a Deku 2 and they just high roll and see 3 of them,
yeah,
or even somebody else that just goes, here's 3 1/1 natures, and you're just like, I'm not going to be able to block that, and that's +3 damage plus whatever else you're supposed to do.
That's what caused poor Andrew to disconnect in the finals. Jose built 3 with nature, and all of a sudden it was like the internet couldn't handle it, right? There's too much power to be staring down on the other side of the board. That's a really interesting card because, like, old heads recognized how crazy strong it was, like, early on for this format. But if you look at the card in a vacuum, or like when it was debuted, it wasn't like as big of a staple as people are making it out to be. But at the same time, any deck that really wanted it in standard could like tutor it up. So like you only needed 1 copy in your whole deck, because as soon as you checked it, it would actually be available for you on your kill turns. So like it flew under the radar because it's not a card you run a lot of. But it was always a card that was in my staging area when I was killing people, even in 2020. So the decision to bring that card back, I think, was purely just wanting to add a solid offensive card that actually has a cost attached to it. But man, that cost is so negligent when you're winning the game.
Yeah, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's like one of them.
So
it's a free card.
It feels pretty free when you're losing to it. You know, it's the kind of thing where if you start using One Wood Nature and they survive, you are probably in a very bad position. So I understand that like that is a very good design to have. But at the same time, when the raw numbers are just so good, and you've got like you said with Deku, like for Deku, he's already down to discard cards, and so when I play against Deku 2, it's like they never discard for the One Wood Nature. It's just now everything's like +5, +6 instead of +3 damage only, and now it completely makes up for it because you only have to hit me with like 1 less attack now.
Yeah, and if you need to as well, it's like you have stuff like any means necessary. So you just discard that with One Wood Nature, and you get a new free card.
Yep. Yeah, I was expecting to see Any Means Necessary get jammed into even like Kirishima's and stuff, just because it's stats for him to help close out a game when he's, you know, swinging in and he's used all of his abilities. And it's a free card when you combine it with stuff like One with Nature or Snack Time, which Snack Time is criminally underplayed too, by the way. Like, Stun 1 is actually just a little bit better than that extra speed, so, you know, especially if you have the damage from one, like if you have both out, you still get all the damage from One with Nature, so I expect to see Snack Time show up at Worlds, actually.
Funny thought, though. Back to what you said, old heads were like, this is a card from the back in the day. As a new head, I looked at that card when it was first revealed, and I was like, this isn't that great. And now I'm like, this card's great.
Yeah, One with Nature, yeah, definitely. It seems like so little, like you know, it's one of those things where you look at it and from general card game perception, you're like, is this worth a whole card in my hand? And the answer is no, unless that is a card that you weren't going to play, or you know, it's like it's not an attack anyways. So like, someone was complaining to me. We were playing Tokoyami, and I forget, maybe it was Tam doing one of his weekly tournaments or something, like one of the webcam weeklies, and I think we were discussing going up to 4 copies of One with Nature after the Stronger in Darkness ban. And he was like, well, how often do I actually want to, like, discard that card? You know, he's like, what, you know, I usually have, like, 5 attacks in my hand. And I'm like, bro, when I played Tokoyami at Nationals, I was discarding attacks left and right, because if I have 7 attacks, but I'm only going to play 5 of them, I can discard the other 2 to kill you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, One with Nature means I don't have to play those other cards because it is so much value.
Especially if you can read the board and you look at something, it's like, oh, a +2 to their mod means they can't block this, and it's a 13 damage move. But this attack in my hand is only a 5 damage move. Like, they can block it if I don't, but if I do this, they can't block it.
Yeah, like one of the weirdest games I played with Tokoyami, you know, even pre-nerf, I was One with Naturing on every attack. It came down to I had 2 cards in my hand. One was Freezer Burn, one was Ice Storm. I don't have any momentum. They're functionally the same card, except, you know, the Freezer Burn cancels a release, so they have to have a +1 block mod. And Ice Storm prevents them from blocking with Airstream Driver or just like any attack. But they had +1 low blocks on attacks and foundations in the deck, right? And I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, huh. It actually doesn't matter. Like, I just play the Freezer Burn because I'm going to discard the other one to One with Nature, and Freezer Burn means that release says even with the +1 you don't get the block, you know? And so I was just in a position where I was making things more complicated than it had to be because I had access to One with Nature, right? Like,
yeah.
I was just able to look at the board state and go, oh, well, these 2 attacks are really interesting, but actually One with Nature is just too good.
We're all with nature.
Like, all of the implications of the plays go out the window when the stats are just so big that there's basically nothing you can do, right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about competitive play. You know, any major tournaments that you joined in? Did you play in let's start with the webcam events. Were there any webcam events that you played in?
I have tried to play in all of the webcam events. I'm actually unsure if I have played in all of them.
Okay.
I know I played in the first webcam weekly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I've played in every first of, if you think about that.
Gotcha. Okay.
At least webcam wise, not in person. I have a job and I can't just travel. Sadly, I wish I could. I played in the first webcam weekly where I played Eraserhead 1.
Okay.
And I was on stream for the last match of that, where I tied with a Tokiyami at the end. I couldn't kill him.
A Tokoyami of all the characters to tie, even back in set 1.
Yeah, I was playing Eraserhead Kicks.
Okay.
And then, which I had just picked it up too. I literally played like 2 games maybe before the tournament. And I was like, oh, what do I play? And I was like, just play Eraserhead.
Always like a popular deck on paper, and then actually playing it, it's so few people.
I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I like I said, I played Deku 1 a lot. I had also built Tokiyami, which I just didn't play a lot. I had other people that like were into Tokiyami, so I kind of just let them play it.
Gotcha.
And then I had a friend that I got into the game, and I was like, "Here you go. Here's your deck. It's Tokiyami. He's good.
He's very good."
And then I played in the first ever webcam provisional, and I believe I played Shoji 1.
Okay.
Where I played him on Evil, and it was card pull stuff. I played Eat My Sticky Balls, Tongue Whip, Amphibious Ambush, Toss Tackle, and I forgot what other cards I played. And Plus Ultra, I was just killing people with like Tongue Whip. I'd go Plus Ultra, increase its speed. You can't block this. Give it a crap ton of damage.
Yeah, just give it a schmillion damage from itself. Yeah, Tongue Whip. Man, what an overperformer.
It was. I love that deck. It was so bad though. I couldn't block anything. I literally just was like, cool. You do 29? I die.
Yeah.
Because I was on Evil, and Evil was a horrible symbol in set 1. Had horrible blocks. There was no defensive.
Yeah, Evil's so weird because there's so many cards. I was just gonna mention there's so many cards that I look at them and I notice, hey, this card has the Evil symbol. How is Evil not like a real deck? Like, how can I not make a deck on this? Like, I had a Mineta 1 deck towards the end of set 1 that played Gale Force Punch, Tongue Whip, Amphibious Ambush, and like 1 or 2 other ranged attacks, you know, like, and the other one's almost definitely like just filler. And I was so high on this attack lineup that when I went to make the foundations, I was like, wow, I have like almost no spam foundations I want to play. I have like none of the right block mods. Like, I was playing, I think I was playing Stronger in Darkness because it's a +2 high block on a 0, right? Like, it was just so rough, but like, I loved having Evil Gaze. I loved having Gale Force Punch. I loved having Sticky Balls and Tongue Whip together, and it's like, how is the Evil symbol just not like a major threat yet?
Because all the blocks are almost the same block zone, and then they have 5 block mods.
Yeah, it has like none of the speed hate, none of the block mods. Yeah, like you mentioned, your zones are always like way out of whack. Evil cards were just like weirdly safe, I think, in set 1 because Evil is traditionally a very control-based symbol, or at least a lot of its best cards are like Evil Gaze, like all the targeted destruction, right, is stuff that they wanted to play safe with. And so I think it suffered a little bit from that. On top of that, Evil's other gimmick is like paying health as a cost, which is one of the easiest costs to pay, right? We just talked about like One with Nature is like free as fuck because of how good it is. Paying life is almost always free as fuck until like you're below 10 health.
Wait, you said Stronger Darkness was in your deck. Stronger Darkness was in my deck. And Shoji already likes to commit himself to give something 2 damage, right? So I would do Shoji, give something 2 damage, the next one 2 damage, and then Stronger Darkness. So here's a Crow and Frog that doesn't fight progressive. I had classmate introductions. Give it a speed, give it a damage, give it 2 more damage, give it all the damage from Strongers. You have to block this.
Yeah.
If you don't block this, I win. Then I'd play Eat My Sticky Balls. I'd go, if you don't block this, cool. If you block it, also cool. Amphibious Ambush, I'd put the Eat My Sticky Balls into my momentum. Then I'd play the Tongue Whip. You have 4 cards in your card pool.
Yeah, there was so many cool plays you could do with evil, but like, I mean, especially almost none of the evil characters give speed, right? Like Shoji gives 4 damage, which was a lot back then, but it's not like the craziest. Mineta 2 actually had some of the best damage pump from set 1. Like, as soon as they have a card in their card pool, you just get +2, which was a lot back then, you know. If we ignore characters who are absolutely busted, like Jiro, who has existed basically unmolested this entire time, so... I guess I'm wavering slash counts.
I think Jiro is good, and I think Jiro is bad at the same time.
Yeah.
I think looking at your cards is fun and a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And that does not what makes her broken. Her cards that go with the fact that she can look at the top is what makes her broken.
You know, it is wild to me that you look at a card like Destined for Mainstream Success, and then you look at a card like Window Shopping, right? And it's like, one of these is just pound for pound so much better in so many ways. Like, Destined for Mainstream Success does actually everything I want it to do, except for the exact specific scenario where I need this to be an attack, and like someone's gonna move cards off the top of my deck before I get to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's aside from the exact thing that makes aside from the exact fact that Window Shopping is a form, like, other than that, functionally Destined for Mainstream is better in every scenario. And I have no clue why it's a fucking 1 difficulty foundation and Window Shopping is a 2.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like from like, you look at Celebrity Status, it's the same stats, except it just puts it on top of your deck, and then you have to use a different card to draw it. And not only can Destined for Mainstream be that card, it can just do the thing by itself. It just gets the card off the top. And if you don't want it to move, if it is a 5 check, then it will stay there. Like, it is just strictly better than drawing a card so many times too.
Yeah, I like to play Destined in that's a Deku list. I like to play Destined, and I'll wait to use Destined just for my kill turns. Mm-hmm. That way I know if I need more attacks, I can get them. Or I know I passed the check.
Yeah.
I force my opponent to touch my board. Like,
yeah.
If it's not an attack, I pass this foundation.
Right. It's so good, even when you quote-unquote whiff on it, because you know you're going to pass your checks. Like, I almost always use Destined for Mainstream Success when I already have the kill turn and I'm just trying to pass my checks. Like, the odds it'll be 2 attacks in a row is significantly worse than just this one being an attack. And then the only time I was really using it defensively was when I played Air Denki at the first event for set 2, or the second, I guess it was the second event for set 2, is the Orlando Regional, where I was using Destin to make sure I survived turn 2. Like, I was so squishy, my deck had no defense, and like, so much of my defense was I have a +1 block mod, and I have Destined, which says I'm going to check a 5, and that was like enough for so much of that tournament. It was crazy.
Yeah, I agree, but to me, Destin's a very bad defensive card, and like, I'm probably gonna get lit up in the comments for that. To me, like, you can go, okay, well, I know I check a 5, but like, what if you call attack, right? It's like, oh, you add the card to your hand, but what if that's an attack on top? Like, you need it to be at 5. If you call foundations just to make sure that's a foundation, you just drew that foundation. Like,
well, that's why you would just always call attack.
Yeah, you always call attack. But
yeah, you just always call attack, and then that way you don't risk moving a 5 off the top ever.
But then you just draw the attack, and it's another attack, and it's like, oh, well, I lost it anyways.
Yeah, the big one, yeah, again, it's just one of those things where, like, it is effectively -2 speed if you draw an attack off the top and then check a 5. Right? Like, that's how crazy it is. It's like, we have other cards that are flip for -2 speed, And they have conditions like clever distraction and tape care what zone the attack is. And there's some that are like destroy for -3, but like a flip for -2 is just a good rate. And now on top of that, we also got card advantage out of it. So like it's weirdly versatile, and you should be trying to save it for offense. But in a pinch, it will make sure that you check a 5 when a 3 loses you the game, and it's so frustrating to play through.
Calling for backup is also a horrible defensive card.
Yeah, calling for backup is. Yeah, that
probably way worse than Destined Death.
Yeah, easily. The other thing is when it comes to man, there's actually so many things about Destined for mainstream that are so insane. But yeah, when it comes down to it, I think the Giro issue, quote unquote, is that Giro is like painfully fair, and then like on phase, and then you just play every card that is unfair around that gimmick, right? Like she's supposed to have cards in her card pool to warrant getting the bonus, which would be fine if she actually was playing with real progressive difficulty and not like +2 to her checks for stuff. It would be really fine if it wasn't for the fact that she can manipulate her checks so easily to the point where, you know, yes, you need to have these 3 cards in your card pool to get like this massive bonus, but getting to that point is so safe. You know, getting to that point, like, you're so good at playing those 3 cards compared to people who have to blind check them that I think a lot of it kind of gets lost in translation.
Yeah. Double Jab Pummel probably should not have been printed under her symbols.
Or just not have the charge keyword. Why is that's the other thing. She shares, like, pound for pound, the best keyword in My Hero. And then also her other secondary keyword was the best keyword from Standard. So like you can play a deck in Standard that says God, I think it's a charge. I have to check. I'm sorry. I'm gonna check really quick. It's a card called Steel Resurrection. I think they had promos for it actually at Standard Sunset. It is a charge.
Okay.
It's a charge weapon. I don't understand why this like just happens to exist. But so if you don't know, if you didn't see the promo card, it's a charge weapon that says this card gets -1 difficulty for each weapon card in your card pool. So Jiro can play 5 fucking weapon cards like Staff Strike style, and then play this on a 5, and it'll get +6/+6. And it will be a 10 high for 11. And then, if it's blocked by a non-attack card, your rival loses 2 and dies anyway. Like, it's a card that fucking kills you for blocking it. It ignores progressive difficulty in every single deck it's ever been played in. And it has both Jiro keywords. And I don't understand. Like, thank God no one plays Standard.
Oh my God. That made me want to play Standard at all.
Like it's the kind of thing where I used to play a card with it called Kersplat, which is a weapon that says your next card ignores progressive difficulty. And so because it's ignoring difficulty and having difficulty reduction, you could play Steel Res on not just a theoretical but a literal 0. Like, it would actually just be 0 difficulty, and so people would try to breaker block you and stuff like that. Like, it just won't work. And then on top of that, you have a card like Staff Strike, right? Like, if you're actually Staff Striking into it, it ignores progressive and then gets -1. So, like, even if you check poorly, it's probably on a 2 instead of a 5.
Oh, man.
So, like, she has insanely good keywords. And so, for characters in My Hero to be really good, they usually either have to have the charge keyword associated with them, the weapon keyword the weapon keyword kind of, I guess, Momo, but it's pretty much charge and range that you want to associate with you, or you have to have no keyword restriction.
Yeah. The worst keyword restriction right now is Ally.
Yeah, especially after the Crow and Frog ban, yeah. when it comes to Staff Strike, they're curating the weapon keyword so specifically around Staff Strike, like. But eventually they're gonna print like 1 or 2 more sets, and they'll eventually just slip up. They'll forget, and they'll start printing weapons on life again, like weapon foundations. And all of a sudden, people will start playing Momo Staff Strike, or like just start playing Staff Strike decks again.
So a hot take. I think Staff Strike probably needs to be banned.
Really, that is kind of a hot take.
So my reasoning is not because like, oh, Staff Strike is the best card in the game. It's kind of the same instance of Unwavering Slash.
Okay, yeah. So
you got muted.
It's the kind of thing where you think that they'll have to future-proof every single weapon card going forward, because that's how I feel about Momo. I feel like you have to nerf Momo because of it.
Especially anything that shares the symbols, like anything that shares Jiro symbols or Momo symbols.
Yeah.
At that point, because it's like, just like you said, Jiro Staff Strike. Staff Strike just comes out with a whole bunch of damage, then plays these other attacks, and whatever crazy weapon we get or card, it's just like, oh, here's this, I win.
and like the Steel Resurrection example, I think is such a good example, because that card was printed in like 2016. That card was dreamt up. It was like one of the first charge cards. Like the Street Fighter set, I think, was supposed to introduce charge, but I think the set before it did, it was Red Horizon, like the in-house IP for Jasco Games. And so I think they used that to introduce Charge and Fury, which were going to be like 2 new keywords, going forward anyways. And like, that card just accidentally has Charge on it. It has nothing to do with Jiro. It has nothing to do with like an identity of the card. They just slap Charge on it, and 4 years later, however long until, the card actually got printed, they printed this character that would absolutely just abuse the shit out of it to, every which way. And then they also chose it as a reprint for the promo. And there's no way no one at Jasco Games looked at this while setting up the new borders and doing the art asset and sent it to Japan. There's no fucking way they didn't look at this and go, Jiro's gonna like this. Like, there's no way it never crossed their mind that a Jiro player will get their fucking hands on this card and, like, look at it. And so...
It doesn't matter, though, because it's not MHA.
That's not the official Jasco line, but then you look at which cards they chose for promo reprints, right? And so, yeah, that's my big concern is... One of the reasons I'm so down to hit characters is because of exactly that. Like, when they said Unwavering Slash has to go because it's going to limit asset design, I was like, Momo limits an entire keyword, not just a card type, Like, assets are the least prevalent fucking card type by far. They've printed less assets than anything else by far. And, you've got multiple characters that are forcing your hand on how a specific keyword is utilized, and then on top of that, like, special edition collectible exists with Momo, and she can ready it on the same turn with electromagnetic stomp. Like, it's getting rid of Unwavering Slash is like, well, we don't want people to tutor assets, but here's a character on 2 of those 3 symbols that tutors assets.
Do you think there is a asset that, like, let's say Jiro could play with Unwavering Slash that would just make it broken, like, currently?
In My Hero only?
Yeah, My Hero.
Well, so I played Denki on air with Sports Festival Stadium, and that seemed strictly unfair. Like, back then, I remember thinking it's actually so obnoxious that I can get multiple Sports Festival stadiums, and my opponent cannot, because at the time, pretty much all the hand traps were, like, blocking based, Like, I was a little weak to Evil Gaze, I guess. Like, Evil Gaze could get in there and fuck on me a bit, but, like, you're getting 2 cards out of your hand, right? And I'm drawing a card off Sports Festival. So I think the biggest one was definitely like Sports Festival already existed, and there was just no counterplay to it.
Okay.
Or maybe just learning the standards was counterplay, I guess. But like in that specific deck, I was so okay with you giving me a face down foundation to pass more checks. You know, like if I play Unwavering and you flip my Sports Festival, and then I just play a second Unwavering slash and tutor us, you know what I mean? Like, I'm down to just get the extra foundation a lot of the time. So I think that already existed. I think that, like, having Jiro have access to Sports Festival Stadium along with seizing the advantage, I don't know if people would actually play it, or at least, like, mainboard it, but, like, I think you have to, you know? You just get to cancel out all the breaker blocks. You get to draw an additional card, which the air symbol's, like, not really good at. And on top of that, I could even make a case for, let me look at the name. I think it's not UA High. It's one of the new assets. I have to look this up now because there's already stuff where they were like, we can't really let this go out. Deku's Notebook. Deku's Notebook is a unique foundation, right? Where you can just tutor it up and you can just go, hey, check this out. I'm gonna check out your hand, and then every attack I play after this is gonna also be the zone you can't block, right? Like, you know, you're gonna have access to stuff like that on demand. Training weights, Unwavering slash readies the foundation that readies the training weights, and so you just get like a free training weights in more ways than one. Like, there's already foundations that are just really pushing it, you know, as far as like specific synergies go, and a big part of it really is not just the tutoring the asset, but it's the fact that it readied a foundation and drew a card as well. I don't get why it did all those things, you know? They might as well have just also said it doesn't count towards progressive.
Give it all the keywords. Give it breaker, give it stun.
It's just Crow and Frog that tutors an ally at that point. Yeah, so I definitely think that there's issues for it, and like because like it's really interesting to me that they did care that much, because that had to be something that was pushed from design specifically, because design would have to look at it and go, man, every time I want to put a cool asset out, I just can't. I can't put it on these symbols, you know?
I mean, I will say with like, so this was right before set 3. I think it was right before we saw all the previews. I mean, we had how many terrains that came in set 3?
Two or three.
2? Is it only 2?
It's UA High and Battle Arena are the only ones I know of.
And then all the other assets, anyways. Like,
yeah, there was quite a few assets from this.
So I mean, like, it honestly makes sense. Like, if you
release
USJ. A set, you have,
USJ, the Jolly. I have no clue what it stands for, but USJ is one.
Nope, can't remember.
It's the United Sports Joliseum. I don't know.
Take it. Yeah. Other events I played in, really of note, I would say, was the Nats in person and webcam.
Okay.
And then the regional before Nats, the webcam regional before Nats. I placed 18th.
Okay.
I was right in the bubble. My tiebreakers were just not as great as some of the other players. I played Fourth Kind.
Ooh, how'd you like that? What symbol? Order?
I loved Fourth Kind. It was under Order, and it was under the Kicks package.
Okay.
I played the provisional before that regional as Kurigiri with Fourth Kind on the side. And every single match, I sided into Fourth Kind, and I was like, I should have just played Fourth Kind. I had way more fun playing Fourth Kind. And so I ended that event. I went to work, was watching YouTube videos, or listening to YouTube videos at work, and I was like, you know what? Let me message Andrew and see if he'll talk to me about Fourth Kind, because he did really well with it.
Yeah, he's the Fourth Kind guy forever, because he did well one tournament.
and yeah, well, I didn't know anybody else that really like who I could sit here and be like, hey, this character, how do I make it work? And so I reached out to him. I got on a call with him for a little bit under an hour. Built a list. I played in some unfun stuff advanced. I think I played with almost his exact build, minus a few cards because I didn't have them. And I was like, I don't really like this. Indiscriminate is too easy to block. Everyone knows it's coming, and so I was like, how do I make this deck better, in a sense? And I was like, kicks. You're already playing some of them. Why not play the rest of them? So I went into the kick package, and I was talking to Andrew more about it, and he was like, I love Blood Curdle. I just got to find out how to slim the deck down to 50 cards. And I was like, all right, cool. How do we do that? And I was like, this is
take out Blood Curdle.
No, you don't take out Blood Curdle. I needed Blood Curdle. Blood Curdle is good. It's an easy side out card, but in the set 2 format, which is where that regional was at, we had too many Momos.
Right.
So if I saw turn 2 could see a Blood Curdle and Momo, I can now string my whole attacks and kill them.
Yeah, fourth kind.
And same thing with Kirishima. And when I looked at a Tokiyami, I just looked at it. It was like, oh, well, this card's coming out. It's pointless.
Yeah, with the difficulty reduction from fourth kind, you get to afford that a lot. I played Denki with I think this is the provisional right before that one. I played Order Denki and sided fourth kind as well, and I had Blood Curdle main boarded, and it was like a 54 card deck. And I was just like, man, I draw this too early all the time. I can't afford to commit the foundation and then check a 3 on this, or else my turn's just over anyways, and I committed a foundation for no reason. And then when I played fourth kind, I would draw it instead of an attack. And I'd be like, man, this hand would be great if this 4 difficulty card was just like one other attack. So I've not had any luck playing Blood Curdle. I've never had anybody like ready a foundation against me when I have like a chance to use it or whatever, because it has like a cool response that was supposed to fuck on Amphibious, but then they banned Amphibious anyways.
Before Amphibious was banned, that was a good little play. Like if you played against the Osui, then you got to hit that. But like, yeah, I mostly didn't play that for that response there though. I mostly played it to commit the character that I needed. Yeah. And if it wasn't a character I needed committed, most of the time I just discarded it with high engine kick or anything else.
Yeah, that response.
Me to discard.
Yeah, that response is just there so it's not like the world's deadest card against like Crow and Frog, but at the same time, it's still pretty dead against Crow and Frog.
It's a dead card if it's not against a character that's needs to be committed.
Well, like that response should be pretty clutch only because it replaces itself. But most of the time the foundation that's being readied is just a spam foundation where its whole job is just to ready itself. So, people are like, you'll have to check it like on a 5. If it's late in the turn, it's fucking useless. I'm not checking a 6 just to like, cycle this and tap down your foundation or whatever. What was the other one? There's a stain card that like people are really high on, and all it does is flip Amphibious. And I'm just like, that's cool, man.
Not Challenge of the Fake.
It's the 1/5, but so it's like it's a card.
Intimidating Presence? Is that what it is?
Intimidating Presence, that's it, yeah.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna flip my Intimidating Presence to flip your Amphibious and then die because you still readied it, So I thought Blood Curdle would be a lot better because it actually commits it, like reduces that foundation count. But as soon as I have 2 cards in my card pool because Asui is clogging my card pool, or because I had to block something on the first Crow and Frog, like it's such a risky card at 4 diff. You're pretty much just trying to jam that form, right?
It does feel definitely bad when you play as your first form and you hit a 3.
Yeah, you just
like, oh, I commit for it and then I have to commit again.
It's like a 7 difficulty card at that point. It's like you tried to open with a 7 div.
But like it's so good against the characters that it's good against, but it's so bad against the characters it's bad against.
Yeah.
But like when you're playing a character that really wants to, I would say fourth kind wants to kill you turn 2.
Interesting. Okay.
I have, or at least that's how I like to play it.
I can tell most fourth kinds would love to do that. That's true.
So most of my attack lineup is like I'll go extend to a high engine, and then I'll play like acceleration kick, or remove my card pool, and then I draw a whole bunch of cards. And here's more attacks.
Yeah, the kick package has a lot of great extension. It's got good card draw. I personally like to focus on tape swing. Like for me, when it comes to fourth kind, I'm like, okay, how do I maximize a singular attack? Because as a 5-hander and the way it's set up, realistically, there's going to be so many turns where at least I think the typical fourth kind turn is attack, foundation, foundation, attack, right? And then you maybe build one more or hold the one card that's left depending on how the turn went. And so for me, I just look at it, I'm like, what's the most uninteractable attack I can play there? And, you know, ever since Face Shield came out with fourth kind in set 2, I'm just down to throw 10 damage tape swings at people and say, fuck off. Like, you just gotta hold this.
I mean, but, like, my thing is with at that point, because, like, if you have no momentum, right, like, then it's just a 10 damage move, and it's just as slow as it is. So if you just go, oh, I block this, I take 5, but I'm not taking 10. But right. My acceleration kick gets plus how much ever speed, hits for 10 damage.
Yeah,
if I got lucky and I get to combo, I get to discard one of your random cards, make you draw.
Yeah, I think my last build was just like the actual normal kicks package with like tape toss and tape swing. So I just have like some throws to grind out decks that are good at blocking, but maybe they don't draw their face shields. And then everything else is like a tempo speedy attack where, you know, you're still dealing with like the reciprocal extend because it draws a card. You're still dealing with acceleration kick because it's like the best way to get a fast attack in him. And then I don't think I played 1.3 million either. It does seem like just an insanely telegraphed attack. But I definitely play at least like 1 or 2 reciprocal bursts to like cash in the momentum I get from tape swing and stuff like that. Like I almost never.
What about Engine Rush?
Yeah, that's the. Oh wait, that's the one that draws 2 cards.
It is.
I don't.
And if you.
I think I stopped playing that.
Sometimes it feels really bad, but like if you play like an extend into an Engine Rush, it's a 7 mid for 7.
Yeah. Fourth kind, again, just like with the Blood Curdle, I think fourth kind can get away with that one just because the difficulty reduction. I've taken that card out of every other deck because the commit 1 foundation cost is just like super risky into any board that has speed hate. You know, yeah. Or like I always keep fighting eraser heads a lot of the time. Like, you know, every time I try to test on order deck, it's like, here's some guy who's just gonna reduce all my speed, like on all my reciprocal attacks. So,
that'd feel pretty bad.
I don't know if I was playing it the last time I played fourth kind, but I could see it just because he doesn't care too much about committing a foundation, like. I'm a huge fan of Think Fast in fourth kind for that reason. Like, not only does it obviously synergize with tape swing really well, but I feel like I can actually afford to commit foundations on all of my attacks as long as it's like not exactly turn 2, you know. As long as I built 5 foundations, I can afford to commit one and like make all my attacks the same zone. And all of a sudden things change when like extend is a high, acceleration kick's a high, burst is a high. Like they weren't expecting like 5 high threats, you know. They were expecting like 1 low threat, right?
Yeah. I won most of my games. Most of the games I played, I think I won turn 2 or 3. Like I didn't go to a late game, so it wasn't like I couldn't spam like I think fast. But I did play like defrosting, ice gliding. So I was like, I gave things speed, or I gave it more damage if I needed. I also don't think I played a single Eraserhead.
Yeah, no. Yeah, in that format, at the end of set 2 format, you pretty much had to win on turn 2 because if not, the likelihood you're playing in some stupid life deck that can actually just block all your shit. Like, I played Toga I played Life Toga, but I played like a wall version. I wasn't super confident in the aggro version. And, I played against a 4th kind who had tape swings and shit, and like the only attack that ever dealt damage to me was tape swing. Like, that's one of the reasons I'm probably so high on it, is like it's the only time he ever got to touch me, because even as Toga, I have rescue completed, I have release. I now have almost all of the same defensive production that Momo has, you know, like on an average turn. So
what about 4th kind on Earth, where you could play seizing,
and then hulking grimace,
and then hulking grimace?
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. I think now I've been trying to play 4th kind on fire for a long time because of the Breaker 2. I want a Breaker 2 and add it to my hand, but now I'm at the point where I think we just play hulking grimace for 14, and it's just like the most insane here catch attack of all time.
And even if you do block it, I get to draw a new card.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think you still get like an Earth Kicks kind of a thing, right? Like, if you want speed, you still have Reciprocal Acceleration Kick. You still get High Engine Kick for like really fast pokes. Hellflame Stomp probably pretty solid at him, right? 6 low for 4.
Texas Smash.
We can play Texas Smash. Yeah, it's. Man, imagine
everyone's favorite card, Back Alley Haymaker.
Yeah, you get Back Alley. You could play Relentless Barrage, so it's like the first 2 are just for 5 damage, and then the third one is like +4 and free. That could be pretty good for a late game strat. Tetsu Thrashing, you already start low hand size, you play 1 with nature. Earth 4th kind might have some legs, I don't know.
The only reason I would not think so is just because I feel like you have to draw cards, and I think that's where like the order cards come in, like passing the torch, and stuff like that. It's just being able to actually refill your hand, because 5-hander, you have 5-hander issues.
Yeah, 4th kind has definitely been one of the best, if not the best, users of passing the torch. Pretty much the whole time he's been around. And then I think the other thing is, once you start playing an Earth deck, a lot of the times before you would just say, why am I not Kirishima 2? You know? Like, instead of playing this 1 card for free with -4 difficulty, what if I just had 2 extra foundations every turn? What if on a turn cycle I just had 4 extra foundations and drew 4 cards instead of, you know, being 4th kind? So I think that was a big part of it. And then the other thing is, like, Back Alley Haymaker, letting people tutor up cards like it can't be fixed, really helped them get past turn 2 against 4th kind.
Yeah, a lot of the games that I ended up playing, people were just like, I'm gonna stay at 5.
Yeah.
Like, cool.
It's pretty much have to.
These moves are fast. You're not blocking them either way.
No.
And if you want to build, that's fine. I'll then do my once per game.
When I play casually against 4th kind, I accidentally build to exactly 6 all the time. I keep thinking he says 6 ready foundations, and so I'll like commit 2 on my turn 2 and then build up to 6 or whatever. And I always just think that I'm safe because I only have 4 ready foundations, and it's like I get immediately fucking dunked every time.
A fun note, I actually know why I was muted. Because you had me on stream on Unfun Stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
When I was playing 4th kind, I played against a Momo. and I rewatched that, and I had game if I would have done my once per game earlier.
Yeah. That sounds familiar.
I just thought about it.
Yeah, normally when I talk to people on Discord, if I have them muted, Like, if I have their volume set to 0, it's like 99% of the time just because I did commentary on one of their games through Discord, and like a lot of people always get offended. They're like, "Oh, you had me muted. What did I say? What did I do?" And I'm like, "It's not you. It's just the way commentary on Discord works."
Also, I just have the worst luck on stream.
Yeah, it's just how it goes.
I think I've lost every single card game that I've played on stream, or I've tied.
Man, I've been pretty stream cursed, but it doesn't always come out to me losing. But like, I was freaking out at the online nationals because they dropped into our top 32 game late, like we were the last ones going. And as soon as like the 5 people from the stream and the judges all pile in, like my camera started to fuck up. So like there's still a little bit of a curse, but I didn't end up losing that game, so I don't know if I get to complain about it.
Oh man, thank God you didn't.
Yeah, it was a pretty rough one, but pretty much every other game that I've played on stream, I either blow somebody out turn 2, like it's just not even close, they don't get to play the game, or I lose like a terrible, ridiculous, like low percenter nail biter kind of a thing. Like when I played on stream in Pasadena, I was playing Toga and Tessero, and Cero's so good at just chewing up 7-handers, you know, and I remember I was like partial blocking attacks because I had to. I didn't have any other blocks for whatever he was doing, and he wasn't drawing cards with the Cero response, and I was like, oh, I might get away with one here. Like, oh, this could be really easy if he just forgets to use his character. And then every game he would just play like 4 attacks every turn at me until I just got grinded out to death. And I went back and I watched the VOD, and you can actually see in his hand he's got 6 attacks. So like he's like, I don't know if he meant to. Yeah, I don't know if he meant like, oh, I'm not going to draw cards because statistically I'll draw foundations and I'd rather check them. Or if he just forgot because he was like, wow, this guy's dead as fuck. Like, you know, like every game it was like extend, acceleration, you know, jolt. And pass on that, like after building 6 turn 1, and then he just goes back to his turn with like double tape swing in hand, and there's just nothing I can do. So I feel pretty stream cursed because there's a lot of games on stream that I play where I'm just like, man, what could I have done differently? You know, like, and then I have other games on stream where my opponent doesn't actually get to play the game, so I don't know.
Yeah, I love being on stream though, even though like I have a horrible track record with it. I love rewatching those and being like, what did I do wrong?
Okay. I appreciate getting other people's commentary on my games. Like as someone who does, yeah, as someone who does commentary, not only am I just interested like in what their commentary would be, I also want to like learn something maybe I didn't consider, you know, maybe something I didn't think about. So that's always a good thing to do, is learn from past mistakes.
Yeah.
Oh, you froze.
Other than that, I played in in-person. I froze? Am I good?
You're good now. Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. Other than that, I played in the in-person Nats, which was a lot of fun. I got to meet all of you and the YouTubers and get some of y'all to sign my playmat.
Yeah, we met a lot of people that weekend. There's a lot of people who came up to us and were like, hey man, I love the channel. So like, I always get really self-conscious because I feel like I have to remember every single person, and it's not really feasible. So
I have no remorse if someone doesn't remember me.
Like oh, go ahead.
I got to play Deku 2, and I got to come in 58th place.
Okay.
In person that. I started off horrible. I lost my first 2 matches. I got a win. Then I tied. then I won, I tied again, and then I went on a winning streak.
Yeah.
And
At least you got to run out the tables at the end of the day.
I did. I got to, and my last match was against a Tokiyami that I should not have won against because I went second. I was like, cool. I get to play this downhill game. Somehow I got game 1, and I was like, all right, cool. He got game 2, and I went. I get to go first. I'm Deku. I'm aggressive. Game 3 is mine. And then I somehow almost did not make that. I literally had to play every single attack in my hand, and I got to hit him for a Texas Smash for 15 damage.
Damn.
Which was exact lethal.
That's a huge... Oh, that's Texas Smash into Texas Smash, huh?
It was a Texas Smash into a Texas Smash.
That's like exactly Texas Smash into Texas Smash, and then discard a card with Deku and respond 1 with Nature.
Oh, yeah.
That's like exactly 15 damage. And
it felt great. I got to end that day. I was thinking maybe I was gonna get to top 32. I was like, can I like, is my tiebreakers there? I was like, nah, it's not really. But like, how high do I get? And I was like, in the top 62. I was like, fuck it, I'll take it.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, Deku 2 has been like such a menace at my locals. It's been the kind of deck where you have to like stay on your toes the entire time. Pretty much every turn from a Deku can just be like, I'll play 3 attacks, discard 3 cards, and that's easily 30 damage, you know? When you get to turn those extra cards into basically like half an attack's worth of damage every time.
Yeah. One attack becomes 2.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, we have a locals who's just like on 4 back alley, 4 future charge. I think they're actually still playing leaping right hook or whatever, the other one that like draws when it deals. Yeah, and they're just like, look, man, I don't need good attacks. I just need to draw cards so I can discard them. And like, he will actually just completely run over any defensive deck I can think of. Like, he doesn't care about Faith Shield, and his attacks are too fast and too difficult to block. He doesn't really care about card pool clogging too much because he's going to ramp stuff with, like, Back Alley Haymaker and things like that. Like, Breaker doesn't really matter because I think the last version of the deck had Missouri Smash in it because, you guessed it, it draws a card. So, like, even around Breaker, if you don't, because there's so few Breaker high blocks, right? Like, you mid block, it deals, he just plays a 0 diff, builds it down, like, so that deck has been like the thing of nightmares for me because I don't ever want to lose to a Deku, to like either of the Deku characters. I don't want to lose to people who are like discarding their hand to attack me, but it's so much speed and damage now.
Yeah, so I run 4 back alley, 4 wind up punch, 4 Texas Smash, 3 heroic strike, and I think 3 jabs.
Heroic Strike, that's the one. That card's nasty.
So mine is a stun package. I am going to stun your whole board out. And then I'm going to hit you with the hardest moving hit.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. And I think realistically every offense except for Jiro has been a stun package. Like after set 1. Like the Asuis have had, I guess, a little bit of wiggle room. Like the Life Asui didn't really have a stun package, but like the Momo decks were on 8 stun attacks in the beginning, and you know have switched between having a certain number of stun. The original Gamer Toga was playing punches with Heroic Strike in it. You know, now we see Tokoyami, of course, has Ice Walls and Indiscriminates, and just Dark Shadow Ruin has stun on it. So stun has just been like insanely good the entire time in My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
The only reason it wasn't dominating Standard so much is because Standard had cards that were playable while committed and like would reduce speed to 0 on an attack. So like if you tried to do like a long string, they still had like a chance to block 1 or 2 attacks depending on how many copies they had. And then on top of that, there was really powerful stun hate cards in Standard that were like, it can't be fixed on crack. But, you know, even with it can't be fixed in this format, like, stun is just the easiest route to victory, I find, in most of the games that I play.
Yeah, I could see that, especially if like you're doing it turn 2, like stunning someone so bored, like when they like at most can build 6 foundations, like.
Right, like I don't have to worry about struggling with studies if I just stun 4 on my first 2 attacks, right? Like, it's making me actually want to look at building like Momo 2, because adding stun 2 to a random ass attack is just kind of fucked up right now. And you can still play back alley haymaker in her to great effect. So just having like stun 6 on your first 2 moves sounds pretty crazy.
Like Shoto 2, play not tongue whip, tape swing, give it stun 2.
Wait, who can do that?
Shoto.
Oh yeah, Shoto, yeah. Yeah, Shoto 2 was like really popular early on in the format, right? Like people talked him up a lot because he gives stun 2 to stuff, and like +2/+2 was pretty good, but he just didn't have the gas as a 6-hander with no defensive ability, it turned out.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that, but like I was playing against one of the guys on the Discord. He was from New Zealand, and he got me pretty hyped on that list. Because he played like jolts and all indiscriminate, and then tape swing. And I was like, oh, tape swing does have range for some reason. It just gets stronger. I can't completely block it. It just stun 2'd me. Cool.
That's how I always felt when I would play against Todoroki 2s, and a lot of them would play Dark Shadow Ruin with like no action cards. They're like, nope, I just really wanted a 6 high for 10 stun 3 to open up my turns. Like, they're just down for that. Press every button on it, and then if it hits, they have a +1 mid breaker block that they can add to their hand. Like, the card's fucked up in so many ways. Like, there's no reason Todoroki 2 should be abusing the shit out of it, and yet here we are.
Oh god.
Here we got some New Zealanders in the chat.
Oh really?
Yeah. Get the New Zealand represented. So we talked a little bit about where you got started. We talked a little bit about the events that you got to attend. Do you have like any favorite moments from your first year of My Hero? Is there anything that like really stood out to you as like this was your favorite game, or just like your favorite moment, you know, within the community?
Nats was just a lot of fun in general, but best moment was when they finally stopped showing. They started showing placements before the tournament was done. Mm-hmm. But it was also the worst roller coaster ride I've ever been on.
Yeah.
Because I was in top 18. I mean, I was in top cut before some of the matches were finished, and I just slowly was getting kicked out of it. Right. And so I was like, I ended my match. I was like, let's go, screaming across my house, high-fiving my children, telling my wife, I made it to day 2, let's go. And then looking at the placement, and it's like, I'm down 1. I go to 16th place. I go to and then I'm like, 17th place. It's like, well, I mean, I'm probably out of it now. And then it finishes, I'm at 18th place. That's like, my high was like so high, and then I was like, I'm down here. I was like, well, I'm depressed now.
The bubbling out is the worst, man. I wish I could figure out, because you can't just have a playoff. Like, you can have like a mini tournament for every single time people tie, but like, I really wish that there was a better way to solve it, because the tiebreakers just are all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Like, I mean, if you're gonna have a round where it's like you're in round 3 and you've got 6 of the top tables all tying, like it's bound to happen. Yeah,
it's just it is what it is. There's no good solution, but man, it feels bad. I used to be a chronic bubble boy. I used to, from like 2000, from when I started playing the game up until like 2019 when I took a break and came back. I actually took like a 1 or 2 year break and came back to the game in 2019. I think I bubbled at every single tournament where there wasn't a teams event. I think singles I made singles top cuts, I think maybe 1 Worlds or something. And everything else I did was always like a teams format. I think for me...
My needy dog Deku.
Wait, what? You named your dog Deku?
Yes, I have a dog named Deku and a dog named Shoji.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so you are like actually the biggest My Hero fan. I saw all the wall scrolls and stuff, and I thought, well, maybe that's just for the podcast. Maybe that's just for that.
No, I have wall scrolls and playmats, but I also have playmats from Force of Will.
Oh, okay. So with the dog named Shoji, does it just have like extra limbs, or like why is the dog named Shoji?
It was actually just, it started off as like kind of a joke, because like so when I got Deku, we ended up having 2 dogs at that same time, and we were like, what do we name the dogs? And we were like horrible at naming. So I was like Deku, and then like the other dog was brown with a half white face. So we were like Deku and Shoji. I mean Deku and Todoroki.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so like we kept Deku, Todoroki. We ended up not keeping, and then my wife ended up getting a cat. We named it Toga because it was like psychotic. Oh no, it was Ragdoll first, and then we ended up getting rid of that. A friend ended up getting it from us. And what else did we get that we named after My Hero? We got another cat where we named Toga, and that one was psychotic.
Okay.
And then we got this other dog. We got a new puppy. She was like, "What do we name it?" And she's like, I was naming out stuff. She was like, "I don't like that," and I was like, "Shoji." And she was like, "I actually like that," and I was like, and then cool. There we go. There's his name.
That's crazy. Yeah, all the pets in my family or all the animals in my life have always just had like human names for the most part, and like it's almost always just like someone in my parents' past that like they're reminded of, like for example, my dad named a cat Archie just because it vaguely reminds him of some guy he knew like 40 years ago who he hasn't seen since he lived in Florida. Which, to be fair, I've seen a picture and there is a pretty decent resemblance, but my mom named her little black cat Monk, which people might have seen on my stream before, and I do like to post pictures whenever I can. He's hard to photograph because of his colors, but he's like this charcoal gray black cat, and she named him Monk because of the TV show Adrian Monk, the detective guy who has OCD. And she named him that because Monk touches everything, because he's a cat. He rubs his face on everything. He sniffs everything. He has to mark every piece of territory and stuff. And so she named him Monk because of that. And then my cat I named Piotr because he reminded me of Piotr Tchaikovsky, the composer. He just I saw a picture with sunbeams hitting his face and his beard one day, and I was just like, he looks like a Russian composer to me. I don't know. So they've always had names based on actual humans, never video game characters. But everyone else I know, it's always a video game character for sure, or anime, I guess.
Yeah, the only thing that we don't have named after anime is a snake that my wife has. We named Savannah.
Oh, okay.
Forever we could have named, but I was like Savannah, I don't remember. I was like desert because it's brown, and I was like Savannah.
That's pretty cool. So you guys got a whole zoo going over there, huh?
A little bit. Yeah. We have 2 dogs and a snake currently, but we've had a random assortment of different animals that have come and gone.
You got to get a sea lion and name it Selkie, and then we got to get a gang orca on the pet roster. A Murko is in your future for sure, for sure. Get a little bunny rabbit.
I mean, I'd probably get like something and name it Mirio.
Yeah. Mirio is so popular.
He's so great though. Like, how could you not?
I haven't watched that far in the TV show. I've only seen like the scene where he's introduced because of YouTube.
That's enough. That's enough right there.
I don't know, man. I'm not the biggest fan of a guy getting naked and beating up children. Like, it's like
if we don't get a card that just says power with him like T-pose naked, I'm just gonna quit the game right there.
If there's not a card called power and it's not an action card, I'll lose all faith in Jasko. Like, actually, I could see it ending up as a foundation, but it needs to be an action card.
Buddy.
It needs to be something that you can like just shout to end a game every time. Like, Sugar Rush Power Up is a really cool card if you're like into that, I guess. But like, you can't shout it at the top of your lungs like you can with Plus Ultra or Go Beyond, right?
Yeah. So, what's the best card to scream in the top of your lungs?
From My Hero specifically, it's either Plus Ultra or like any card with Smash in the name.
So I think you're wrong. It's Eat My Sticky Balls.
No, you can't. That's like a whole sentence. You can't shout that.
Oh, you can. I to be honest, if I would have played Shoji on Nationals, like, you definitely would have heard me screaming.
I don't know. Maybe I think I just got desensitized to it, or I got like worn out on it, because like the sticky balls jokes from set 1 just like wore me out so fast.
I could see that. But it was funny. It was funny because when I was playing Shoji in set 1, where I was playing it, and I was playing Sticky Balls the Foundation, my wife had one of her friends come over, and I was sitting here playing the webcam event, and I was like, I play Eat My Sticky Balls, and he was like, what?
Yeah. I've definitely run into that myself, where I'll just be like casually describing, because I'll have friends who like don't really care about card games, but they're gamers, and they're interested, and we tell stories and stuff, and I'll just be like, I'll just name drop a card for basically no reason because they have no context for it, and then I immediately regret it because it's something like Eat My Sticky Balls, or there's another, I think Funny Punch was one where I was like, oh yeah, I was playing against a friend at my locals, and they just had this Funny Punch deck or whatever, and like my friend was like, I'm sorry, is there really a card called Funny Punch? And I was like, no, there's not, but it just sounded like it could be a card, because I have a friend who talks to me about it, and he's like very confused about like All Might's naming conventions. He like gets just thrown off by this guy who's like Delaware Smash or Detroit Smash, stuff like that. He's like, why is it Detroit? Is it because it's full of crime? And I'm like, I don't think it goes that deep, my guy.
He's got to move for every state.
Yeah, I think it's, well, and like some are states and some are cities. Like,
yeah, I think I don't know what the aspect of it all is, but I think it's like a lot of state. Like, I think he might have a move for every city and state.
It's just 100% up to the creator and which words he likes from English. Like, that's it, dude. It'd be like if me and you had Tokyo Slap as a move or something. Like, Japanese people would be like, oh, these are just the cities he's heard of. Kyoto Punch, like... That's just how it would go.
My Hero creator, Jasko, hear us now. We need these as alternate cards.
Yeah, to me, and I haven't watched a whole lot of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure either, but like, it seems so similar to JoJo's, because like everything in JoJo's is just a fucking 80s reference. It's just the creator naming shit after celebrities that were popular in the 80s. Like, it's so obvious, just like personal choice. And like, I feel that way with the My Hero creator. He's like, I've created this beautiful universe for references that I care about, and that's it. You know, like whenever I'm doing meme edits and I have to like search for stuff that's like related to My Hero, like all the time, I don't know how or why exactly it comes up because of my search queries, but I see Easter eggs from the manga all the time where people are like, oh, One Punch Man is in the background, or check out Superman or whatever. Like there's always just like some reference, like some other anime character. I'm pretty sure there's Chainsaw Man in a recent manga because the guy's like, fuck it, it's my manga, I can draw whatever the fuck I want. So I think he just thinks Detroit sounds funny. You know?
Possibly.
It might just be all the places he's been. You know, he doesn't know what part of Delaware he was in, but he was in Delaware at some point. So he's naming it Delaware Smash.
Let me see if there's a list of all my attacks.
At first, I thought it was specifically just the biggest states. Because I knew about Oklahoma Smash, and I knew about Texas Smash, and then Missouri Smash. I was like, I don't know how big Missouri is, but it's probably, it's Midwest. It's probably pretty big. It's probably up there. But then I saw Delaware Smash and Detroit Smash, and I was like, these aren't even states, you know?
Okay. So here we go. Here's a list that I found. We have California Smash.
There's a California Smash? That's got to be the biggest one.
Texas Smash.
It's got to be the most smashy.
Carolina Smash. New Hampshire Smash. Oklahoma Smash. And United States of Smash.
Oh, he's got the whole United States. Why don't we just use that one?
We'll probably get that one set 4.
Yeah, why wouldn't he just United States of Smash all the time? That's like 50 smashes all in one.
Because it's its final move. It's like you put all your energy. Like it's like a Deku's 1,000,000%.
That's too many percents. That's like...
It was to hype him up, man. It was to hype him up.
We're at 1,000,000% now? Come on, that's...
I don't remember the exact number. I think it was 1 million. I think it was a million Detroit, Delaware Smash, I think is what he screamed.
Yeah, I will say...
We'll probably also get because it's his fight versus Muscular.
I hope we get United States of Smash just because of all the... So, like, I'm mostly... I'm somebody who wants to watch subs instead of dubs, but I watch dubs more often because I'll have it like on the background while I'm doing shit, right? Like
I only watch dub. I don't have enough brain power to sit here and read while I'm watching.
Yeah, so like most of the time it's just like out of sheer convenience, like I just can't do subtitles, or like a lot of times the entire series won't be subtitled, but the entire series will be dubbed for me. So I'll like, I don't want to switch halfway through. I think I ran into that with like Yu-Gi-Oh seasons years ago. When I first started watching on Crunchyroll, I would get like the first season subbed, and then the rest of it's dubbed anyways, and I'm like, this is a disconnect. So, but that being said, I do think that the if you get a chance and you haven't seen it, look up the video of the voice actor for All Might doing the United States of Smash scene. Like they have like a video like behind the scenes. The dude like passes out because of like how strong he's like screaming it into the microphone and stuff. And like I love that, like that whole scene, like the setup for him. I didn't care too much for like the actual fight in the anime, but like just watching him like screaming, like all the veins in his neck are popping and stuff is like, it's a really good video. It's a really good voice acting job.
You asked me like what was my greatest moments of the year too, and that's gonna be one of my top 5 as well. Is actually winning against the boss deck at Nats and getting a signed All Might.
There weren't that many people who did that. I can only think of like 1 or 2 people who beat the boss battles.
I know of one other, but he beat the same person I beat. And so he didn't get a signed All Might, but okay. I think there was one other that did get a signed All Might, but I'm unsure.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I only heard of one or two people, and I saw the signed All Might get put up on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, my bad picture is on there.
Yeah,
holding it.
I did see that, so that's probably where I knew I recognized the name from somewhere. I figured it was just from like seeing you bubbled out from an online event or like while doing commentary, but now I'm pretty sure I saw your name from Facebook from the signed All Might, because I really wanted to do some gunslinging, and I really wanted to win a signed All Might just to like have as, you know, streamer bait shit. Like eventually I'm not going to do the green screen. I'm going to have like the shelf with the lights, and you know, you got to get the neon gamer, all this stupid Twitch shit, you know. But
like my setup.
yes, just something like I'm just going to steal the giant All Might cutout from Andrew Holder since he's not going to make content anymore, and I'll just like put Christmas lights around it or something. But yeah, I did want to win the signed All Might, but I just like the lines for boss battles were out the door all the time.
Yeah, I kind of just got lucky when I did it. I had friends back there that kept, you know, like every time we'd finish a round, we just kind of went back there and hung out. And I had a friend that did it. He failed to do it, and they were like, hey, just do the boss deck, you know, if you fail, you still get a promo. And I was like, all right, cool. I played my Deku 2 list that I took to Nats, and I was just like, he just couldn't defend my aggro. He actually played a reversal against me, and I was like, okay, I'll just take the damage. I built, and I had male bondings on the board, so I was like, cool, I get free foundations on my turn. He dealt damage. And I was like, here's another attack.
You know, reversals are a pretty hotly debated topic. So did you just get like blindsided by the reversal keyword? Did he warn you that he's got these illicit, illegal standard cards in his My Hero boss deck?
He told me he had standard cards, and there were some of them that I was like, this does what? And I was turned on some of them, like it's just like, you know, I blow this up, it builds itself back and stuff like that. I was like, what the hell is going on? That's like, you just do what you want to do. I'm literally Deku. I'm just going to throw attacks and see what lands.
I'm going to throw my whole hand at you and hope that it is enough damage.
I think I killed him on turn 3, but I on turn 2 I literally just went attack, and I did majority of his health, and I was like, do 29. I think he attacked once, built some more foundations, and I was like, drew 4 more attacks. I was like, all right, we can do this again.
Yeah, that's a lot how it goes for player 2. You're just like, well, this isn't your whole life.
But he played reversal, and I knew a little bit about reversal just because of my friends, like knowing a little bit about the old stuff, and just like, oh yeah, I can't wait for reversal. It's like playing an attack on your opponent's turn. It's like, it's a cool concept. I don't think that we should get that in MHA, but
interesting.
That's maybe my opinion. I don't know. I don't think it's necessary.
Huh.
I think at some points that there's going to be a character that's just going to break it to the extreme.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you do have to like design with them in mind. Historically, when characters that are good at reversals have access to good reversals, the game kind of breaks down, right? Because there gets to be a point, and if you've ever listened to Kyle Wright talk about like his favorite standard decks and like Jackie Briggs and stuff, there's definitely like a mentality going into the deck building process where I never need to attack you. I don't have to attack on my turn. I don't have to play the game on my turn because my reversals will always be stronger during your turn. Mostly because of the way reversals are designed nowadays. They literally have like opponent's turn enhanced instead of your turn. It's opponent's turn. But then on top of that, it's just like you already have a card in your card pool. You've already committed resources, right? Like, so I can understand why they wouldn't want to have it or why people wouldn't like it. as like a system mechanic. You know, there's not too many games where you can just get attacked on your own turn. You know, there's as far as I know, there's no Magic card that lets your opponent conduct a combat step during your turn. So
yeah.
But at the same time, it adds so many good layers to the game.
Yeah, maybe make it like a once per turn or something like that. Like, so you can't just like string them out.
So, yeah, my headcanon is that instead of doing an actual reversal keyword, they will have a character who has an ability once per turn to play a specific type of attack. Like, you know, I could see it being like, you know, response once per turn after you block your rival's attack. Your rival picks an attack from your discard pile to play, or something like you know, like, so it's like it's not even like you get to play your best attack. It's like they get to
Kurogiri.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like a reverse Kurogiri kind of a thing. I think that kind of design space is a little underexplored as far as like keeping the power level of things down. Because there's a really cool card from Standard where your rival gets to pick the attack in your discard pile, but you get the enhances from it. So like the mini game is, I'm now curating my own discard pile to only give you one single option, and then you have to pick this card that I want you to pick. And I think stuff like that is really cool. But at the same time, you know, as far as like just printing like actual reversals, if they do go ahead with the reversal keyword, they'll probably be really shitty to start off with. Like, they'll probably be like 2 speed for 2 damage, and if it deals damage, you get to draw 1 card. You know?
But you think about like something like Chaos, where it's like, oh, well, I'd do Hijinks. Is that what the one for speed? Or basic training for speed? I don't know, whichever one gives speed.
I mean, you just do both if you have them,
yeah. And then, like, say it's on a Tokiyami, right? Like,
yeah.
He not only just hit you for 13 on his turn, he gets to hit you for 13 on your turn. Like, that's just...
Yeah. The big thing about reversals is that if you're familiar with Magic, right, you want to spend your mana in your opponent's end step. And so, like, you can kind of do that with reversals. It's kind of the only way to do it. The main thing is that reversals are supposed to punish decks for selling out on offense. It's supposed to, like, give you a tempo swing back for your opponent, just, like, playing a whole bunch of cards. But at the same time, historically, reversals have been on the water symbol, and then they benefit from your opponent's card pool being filled with cards. And the last fucking thing I want to do in my hero is play against people who are sticky ballsing my fucking card pool and then killing me with creepy realization because I tried to attack 4 times. You know what I mean? Like, if you block my 4th attack and you sticky balls me for a 5th card, and then you fucking play Tongue Whip on my turn, and then you turn 2 creepies sideways, all of a sudden you're dealing 30 damage to me just because I tried to play the game. So I 100% understand, like, that shouldn't be in the game.
Oh my god.
You know, I don't need any more stun 2 reversals. No one should be stunning me on my turn, you know. But at the same time, you have a card like Shock Treatment, which I'm pretty sure just says your attack, not your turn. So, like, you know, do we want people to be able to, like, play a reversal and then use Shock Treatment to target commit something and then destroy it to, you know, like, there's a lot of stuff to kind of balance. And so I almost guarantee that they will do something. They will do something similar to an attack during your opponent's turn. I just have no clue what the power level is going to look like. There's a really iconic reversal called Skull Barrier, which is iconic for a few reasons. One of them is if you block with that attack, it's a +0 mid block. If you block with it, you can play it as a reversal. So normally you need 2 cards to reverse. You block and then you reverse. Skull Barrier is an all-in-one reversal. And then on top of that, it has a response while it's in the card pool. It's basically Gravity Barrier. You remove 2 momentum from the game, and then you discard your opponent's attack after it's played. So it's like, it's a super flash. Like, they play the attack, and you're just like, no, just abort it. And that card is super iconic, and Gravity Barrier kind of already fits its niche of, like, spend 2 momentum to negate an attack sequence. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see, like, a 0 speed for 3 damage reversal. Like, Skull Barrier was, like, not a very good attack. It was just a defensive response, basically. And the fact that it was an attack was always weird to me because of how shitty of an attack it is, but I guess it makes sense.
I guess, yeah.
Like,
I mean, if it's as long as you keep it like, and maybe that's even another thing. If you give all the reversals just have flash.
Yeah, that's actually a good one too. Now that you mention it, if you just made the first reversal a flash reversal, that's probably a strong starting point.
Because that way you're not able to go like, oh, I just get to free enhance all this crazy stuff on your turn and make this stupid crazy attack.
Yeah,
compared to it being like a 0 speed for 3, you know, it's like, oh, this is easy blockable.
Yeah, I would be afraid of a few characters because, like, the one off the top of everyone's head that they don't want to have reversals is Shigaraki.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I also think Jiro would be pretty good.
Jiro could be, depending on how much you block, because, like, getting +2/+2 to reversal is pretty good.
But that I think Shigaraki would do that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's it does 3 damage. Oh, then I'm gonna respond, make it deal another 5.
The character that needed reversals, in my opinion, like the one who should have, if you were gonna do, because again, my idea is like they're not gonna have a reversal keyword. They'll have like a character's ultra rare attack, you know, or like how like Sato 2 just has brutish swagger, right? Like it'll be a character who has like 1 card in their kit, or like 1 attack, 1 foundation, and maybe a DLC, right? And it'll have like a response that's character only. So like 1 character will get access to attacking on your rival's turn as a way to test the waters. And in set 1, if Mineta 1 had just 1 card that let him reversal people, I think that would have been fine. Because he wants you to have a card in your card pool to get his damage pump, and that's the easiest way to just say my rival has a card in their card pool.
Yeah, I could see that. The character that came to my mind when you said it, and even the card itself, was Deku 1.
Oh, yeah. Just, hey, I got no cards left in my hand anyway on your turn.
But, I mean, because, like, not even just, like, being able to do that, but, like, the card, was it reverse? Oh,
he has reverse throw and overhead reversal. He has 2 cards like, with reverse in the name.
So it's like, honestly, it's just like, and that's what he's doing in that scene even is reversing Bakugo from hitting him and throwing him onto the ground. So aesthetically would have been perfect for what a reversal is.
We did meme a bunch when the set first came out, when set 1 first came out. We memed a lot that reverse throw was not a reversal. And then they doubled down in set 2 and made overhead reversal. And people are like, hey, this is a misprint. You forgot to put the keyword on it, you know? And like,
they were also smart. They didn't give that punch.
True, yeah. Having another punch throw.
I get to play Deku 2 with all punches. And
yeah.
They're also throws.
They're all throws, you mean? Yeah, that would be the sick one. Yeah, I would love to see reversals as a mechanic come back. I would not necessarily want to see the same design style of reversals, because the reversals that got played in the past, or at least most recently, are like, and again, it's standard power levels, so I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but like, it's reversals that focused on getting stun too, and then adding more stun or increasing the stun rating. And then while they're in the card pool, they negate an attack. So like the deck that won the standard sunset, I don't know exactly how or what the plays were necessarily, but I know that it has access to like essentially a move where if you attack me, right, I block it, I play my attack, I give it stun 2, I then do the character's combo to give it stun 2 again, so then I stun 4 of your foundations, and then if you play another attack, I can respond with the reversal that's in my card pool to build my block face down as if I had Manly Passionate Guy, and then I can discard 1 momentum to remove your attack from the game. So, like, I don't want that back. When I say I want reversals, I don't want stun 4 and I build a foundation and I delete your attack. I don't know why the fuck the cost of that ability is to build a foundation. They were on some real Kirishima shit before they ever built Kirishima, before they ever designed him. But, like, I do want to see reversals come back, if only because it opens up avenues for punishing aggression.
Yeah.
Like,
what would be something else, like, besides reversal from the old days that would be cool to see in My Hero?
So besides reversal, multiple is the other big keyword. That's the other one people talk about a lot. I don't necessarily think multiple has to come back.
What is multiple?
Excuse me. Multiple is basically you can generate a blank copy of the attack is the best way to think of it. So, like, it copies all the numbers but not the text box, and you do it by spending momentum. So if you have an attack that has multiple 2, you can spend up to 2 momentum to generate that many copies of that attack. So, like, the we have multiple in My Hero card is Meteor Shower, because Meteor Shower is like spend 1 momentum, you get a copy of Meteor Shower that you can pick up and play. But when you use the multiple keyword, you don't have to check for it, and it doesn't cost you a card from your hand. So, like, imagine if Meteor Shower just said discard 1 momentum, add that momentum to your card pool face down as a copy of this attack with a blank text box. So you basically just get a 4 high for 5.
That's kind of cool. So
it's incredibly busted.
My thought process to that is maybe not bring multiple back, but like you said with reversal, is set it to a character like twice.
Yeah. That's people are assuming twice is going to have that. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
People are assuming that twice is going to have a multiple gimmick. I don't necessarily think so. I've just been really surprised. Like, I'm not the biggest expert on the show, but I did watch the first season up until the All For One fight, and I've been really surprised with the way they do the theming of the characters. Like, I can understand the flavor of all of them pretty much. So, like, the flavor is at least recognizable. But at the same time, like, they're just never the designs I would choose for people. So there's that. Like, everyone thought Deku was going to cut his own life because he hurts himself. So that makes sense. But then they're like, well, the symbols that cut themselves are evil and death, and we don't want to give Deku evil and death. We don't think of him like that, you know? And then meanwhile, the first Endeavor doesn't cut himself, but he does need to take damage to activate his ability, which I guess makes sense, but not really to me. So, like,
I mean, it's fire. His fire is hurting him, you know, in that sense. Like, the hotter he gets, the more damage he takes. That's why the whole reason he even wanted to make a child with an ice user was to counteract the weakness of his quirk.
Right. So, like, I understand that with Endeavor 2, because Endeavor 2 cuts himself to act, like, he hurts himself to use his fire. Yeah. But, like, Endeavor 1 just gets rewarded for being punched in the face. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really it doesn't quite add up for me. So like Endeavor 1 is something I would expect from a character like a Fat Gum, who's like, I get attacked and then I unleash that energy, you know. It's, you know, someone who has to like actually absorb punishment or something like that. You know, I could see that. So like when it comes to like speculating future characters, whenever someone says like, oh, this character should do this, it makes sense. If it makes perfect sense, I can almost guarantee it won't happen. Like, if it makes too good of sense, it's almost as if Jasco is saving it for a different version of the character. Because, like, Toga Himiko's whole thing is she, like, impersonates people, right?
Yeah.
Where is that represented in her character card at all?
Monoma.
Right, like, Monoma copies your abilities, so he has to copy the ability, like, you know, it's the kind of thing where I don't, you know, like, there's so much overlap. There's so many characters who, like, could be represented by the same mechanics and the same ideas. It's tough.
I honestly think that's kind of why they didn't give Toga that ability, was because Monoma. Like...
Yeah, like, and the other thing is she doesn't, like, steal their powers, though, right? She just looks like them.
She can still. Later on the series, she awakens her quirk.
Oh, we got the time skip. We got the power jump.
Yeah, so it depends.
She gets to go Super Saiyan with her quirk.
Spoiler. I don't know.
Yeah, she's got the Kaioken quirk.
It depends, like her relation with the person that she's copying, kind of deal.
Huh.
But like,
I'm afraid to learn more about that. So, anyways, it's the kind of thing. It's the kind of thing where, like, I can understand, like, Shoji 1, like, Mezzo Shoji, I can understand the flavor. It's just never, like, what I would do for the character. And so, a lot of times I think that they're just saving, like, a really good design for later. Or a lot of times I feel like they're like, well, we have this really cool mechanically unique character. We need to find the best fit for it. Like I don't understand why Ojiro does what, like, Ojiro 2 or Ojiro 1, really. I don't really get why he does anything that he does, but in the show, he's just really strong, right? Like, he's just, like, a black belt in karate and has a tail. So, like, how do you represent that?
That's it. But it's funny that you say that, too, but, like, why does Shoji not, like, look at the top card of his deck? Why does he not do some of the things? Like, why can't he adjust speed or anything? Because he can form any of his parts into different parts. Like, he could make his tentacles into eyes, ears, and hands.
Well, so Shoji 2 did do that, and that's kind of what I'm thinking, right? Like, Shoji 1 really missed the mark for me, but Shoji 2 is doing everything that you're talking about, right? So that's what I mean, where I think they saved it for the second version. I think later versions of characters are better representations.
Why didn't they give me enough cards to use counters?
That's the other question. Why do I get 4 counters per turn cycle? Like, what's the deal with that? Like, as soon as I use a counter ability, I can't use the wall cling ability. That's rough.
I think if they would have made Shoji 2 say you get 4 on your turn and then 4 on your opponent's turn, but, like, you still wipe your board of the counters. Like, maybe he'd be a little bit more playable.
If I could get 4 on each turn, I would play that character, actually. Because the one thing that I don't like about Shoji is... The appeal to me, personally, to play Shoji is 2 things. I want to look at the top card of my deck and discard it, if I don't like it. And I want to have Wall Cling on face. Those are the 2 abilities that are really appealing to me. And the fact that, like, I can never use them together kills it. It makes it so I do not want to play the character because I am forced to play his own cards that add duplicate counters if I want to do those 2 abilities together. And I'm just not down for that.
Neither one of those cards are really that bad, though.
They're not bad, but they're not good. And the biggest thing is they're not interesting. I don't do anything cool to get those counters. I just say, my name is Mezzo Shoji, give me duplicate arm counters, thank you. Like, I don't... It's just, hey, I'm playing the Mezzo Shoji card. Like,
I definitely agree. When we were seeing cards, I wanted the weirdest thing because I didn't want to play Shoji 1 2. I wanted to play Shoji 1. So I wanted an attack under the Shoji 1 symbols that let me use counters on the attack. And I was like, give me that so I could play Tentacle Tactics and window shopping under Shoji 1 and just go.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I didn't even think of that. Man, that is a missed opportunity, actually. Maybe in the future, maybe they'll just run with the counters gimmick and start adding stuff, but I don't know.
I mean, like, if they don't add to it, like, it's Shoji 2 is just going to collect dust in everyone's collection, because...
Yeah, he's just going to absolutely rot away in the back of every box.
If you don't add anything that uses counters or puts more counters, there's no reason to play that character.
Right, yeah, it's super sad, too, because I do think it's interesting. People are polarized about the existence of the counters itself, but, like, I just wish that he was a little more open-ended for use. Like, he's just, a little rigid. But, yeah, he's a good... I do think, like, the 2 dots are almost always, like, a better representation. I think the biggest outlier for me might be Asui 1 and 2. I vaguely understand why Asui 1 works the way she does, but it's mostly like a meta joke because she's the water symbol and a frog, so she like does really good in a pool. You know what I mean? Like she's really good at swimming through her card pool, which is just kind of a pun. It's not really a flavor win. But other than that, like I don't know what the fuck Asui 2's deal is. I don't know why Asui 2 works the way she does. So she's like the exception to the rule for sure.
To be honest, I don't even remember what it does.
So Asui 2 says if this attack is not blocked, your next attack gets +2 speed. And then her other ability is discard 1 card from your rival's card pool. This ranged attack, only ranged attack, gets +4 damage. So you have some really fat fucking tongue whips, but like you're clearing like she encourages your opponent to block, and then if they block, you're making it easier to block again anyways. So like she doesn't work super well together unless you're getting stats from other places. She doesn't have any defensive ability as a 6-hander, and she has almost nothing in common with Asui 1, except she technically cares about cards existing in the card pool, which again is just like a pun because of she's a water character and a frog. And that's the closest I can get, is that she cares about the card pool because she's amphibious. But then Selkie doesn't care about the card pool, and he's amphibious, so I don't know.
The pun was overused.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I felt that way kind of about Mina Ashido as well. Like, Mina Ashido 2 dot, like, she skates on acid, or, like, she slides around, and, like, theoretically, I guess she would be good at swimming because of that. I don't know. It doesn't really work.
What about Nezu? Why does he do what he does?
I had a decent explanation for Nezu at one point, but it was pretty meta and not anything represented from the show. It was like, I think it was something like he has access to like your permanent records and stuff, and like I think his quirk has to do with information anyways, or like he can understand how things work.
He's just smart. He's just smart.
Yeah, that's what I thought he was just a smart animal. But someone told me his quirk is he understands how machines work by looking at them. Nice. But I thought that was the Mei Hatsumi quirk. I don't know. But yeah, I thought his quirk was he's just like an enlightened animal. He's like an animal of ascension.
Let's see what his quirk is.
Because like, looking at your hand, I could see it being like he's the principal, so he like knows everything about the students. He has access to all the resources at the school, so he gets to grab. I don't know. He's just a cool design. Not every design has to be a flavor win, but I have no clue why he does what he does. He gets to.
It literally is that he's just super smart.
Yeah.
His quirk grants him high level of intelligence that surpasses that of humans.
Yeah, so he's just a really smart animal.
Yeah, he's just a really smart animal. That's it.
Yeah, and you know, not every cool design you have isn't necessarily going to have like a mechanical identity with a character, but at the same time, it's like even the ones where it's really obvious, like I think you know, a really simple design that works really well is like Bakugo 1, and I kind of get why Bakugo 2 is the way that he is, right? Like he puts so much pressure on you that it denies you those face-up resources, and he's always been kind of like about combinations of attacks, even if it's not the combo keyword. But some of the characters just like are out of left field for me as well. Like like I get why Jiro looks at 2 cards. I don't get why she gets speed and damage. I don't understand like the ramping up of her offense.
Maybe they felt like just looking at the top 2 cards wasn't enough. I don't know.
I have no clue why Aoyama does what he does. Like, I don't get why Flipping Foundations is speed and damage for his laser. Maybe it's to signify, like, does he have to power it up or something? Like, does he have to eat a bunch of sugar to power up his belly button?
No, he just can use it, but it starts to give him a tummy ache if he uses it too much.
I guess all your foundations being face down is you having a tummy ache. You like ran out of foundations. I don't know. He just like builds up a big laser.
It honestly would make more sense if it was like commit or flip get damage. What does he do exactly?
So Aoyama responds to get 1 speed and 1 damage every time he flips something, and then he commits to make an attack really easy. You know, like I get why 4th kind makes attacks really easy because he's rich. I don't understand why Aoyama gets to make attacks easy when he has a tummy ache. Fly High Raw says he can only deal damage in bursts. I guess I could get that. I could sort of see that. Like, you just get big damage for, like, I don't know. Whenever I play Aoyama, I'm not doing damage in bursts. Everything's really big. So, like, playstyle-wise, he's just another flavor of Jiro. He's just Jiro with a resource allotment.
Yeah, I haven't even played that character or played against it, so I have no idea what it does most of the time.
He's a big funny deck. Like, Funny Punch Aoyama is actually really easy. You just play the life symbol with all the cranked mids, and then you just flip your whole stage, and you're like, alright, here's a Funny Punch on a 9, but it's actually on a 3. And then you plus 1,000,000 damage it. It's pretty good. Really said he played the game before he watched the story, so he thought Jiro had a sword and sound blast attacks. She does technically blast people with sound through her boots at one point, I think. She gets like a weapons upgrade.
She gets a sword from Momo, I think, in one of the parts, but it's like,
yeah.
I don't think she ever actually uses it. She just kind of has it.
She just kind of poses with it, yeah. She poses with it, and then villains show up, and she drops it and surrenders.
But I think that's like when they do the whole plan of like Kaminari, like doing the whole electrocution.
Yeah, they end up making like a blanket and stuff. I do remember the scene.
I can't remember it from like seeing like screen grab, but like yeah, she has like a sword but does nothing with it.
Yeah, and you know, all the cards from set 1 were pretty much dictated by what kind of art assets they could use. So she gets Unwavering Slash. But yeah, there's a bunch of characters where I get what they're going for. Like, I get where it's like mechanically tied into it. It just seemed like a weird direction, and the promise of extra versions of characters leaves it so it's not that big a deal. You know, the one I'm really afraid for is I'm afraid for All for One, because I feel like if All For One does what he should do, he'll be busted beyond belief. But if they don't want to break him beyond belief, he'll probably do, like, nothing that he's supposed to do, so I don't know.
What do you think he would do?
Well, so, like, if I had a blank slate, there's a character in the past from Universus whose whole gimmick is that he, like, steals people's souls and assumes their powers. You know, he literally steals their powers. And so what that character did is he would play other character cards in his deck, which in standard you can put any card of any symbol. So you can literally add any character to your deck. And then he would remove that character from the game as an enhance to gain its abilities for like one enhance step or for the turn or whatever. And that character ended up being too busted because he could just get like a powerful once per turn ability multiple times per turn. And so they ended up nerfing it the first time to down to like twice per turn or something. But then he was still using once per turn abilities twice per turn. And he was using 5-hand size abilities on a 7-hander. You know, it'd be like if Asui was like, oh, by the way, I also have, you know, fucking fourth kinds once per game. You know what I mean? And like, so if you could steal a once per game multiple times, it's too good. And even if you made it, if I was gonna put that ability in my hero, I would make it once per game. Like once per game, you can steal the abilities of another character card, but that's not very thematic for the guy who's supposed to have access to 1,000,000 quirks at once.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thought process. I don't really know how you would change that up to make it more fair.
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? Like he's a villain. His ability is specifically unfair. His abilities are specifically that he is unfair and that the only reason he loses is because of his hubris, like every other villain that is unfairly powerful. They always just lose because of themselves being too confident. And like, I don't know how you would exactly transcribe that to where it feels like it meets the flavor criteria, but also doesn't absolutely break the game.
Maybe he just has the different quirks that he uses in that section of the anime.
Maybe, I don't. Yeah, like the only quirks he uses in that section of the anime is super strength. He's just like, I'm gonna punch All Might.
He uses a air blast.
No, does he? The only thing I remember is I remember being really excited for the fight because I want to see this guy who's going to use a bunch of different quirks together to synergize and do, you know, a bunch of really cool shit. And I want him to beat up All Might, who's just, I'm going to punch you, the guy. And, like, I'm not a fan of I'm going to punch you, the guy, personally. So, like, I wanted to see, like, 1,000,000 quirks together. And then when they fight, he's just like, well, I'm just going to punch you to prove a point. And, like, I don't remember much else.
Maybe discard a card or remove a character card from your deck or something?
Maybe. If I had to guess, it would be something along the lines of like removing it from your hand to like
okay,
or what was it? We thought about this a while ago. People speculate a lot. Maybe you could play the character card from your hand as if it's an action. So, oh, Tam's rating. Thank you, Tam. What's up, everybody coming from Tam's stream? We're talking about All For One. We're speculating All For One and how you can make All For One work at the moment. So, like, you could maybe make it so that you play the character card from your hand as a 6th difficulty action, and then you could play the ability on that character card, like, once per turn. So, like, playing a 6th difficulty action is pretty difficult, and that could be, like, a fair way to do it. I still think that's ripe for abuse if you leave it to, like, any ability, you know? If you had 6 difficulty to be 4th kind for one turn, like, that's probably pretty good. And I wouldn't want it to just be like once per game, gain the abilities, because All Might True Form kind of already does that, even if it's limited to All Mights. So I'm not exactly sure how I would make it work to where it works in the game, it's not broken, but also is flavorful.
I mean, we'll find out here soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Do you think they're gonna do spoilers before Worlds?
The fact that we haven't got any spoils yet, I kind of don't think so.
Yeah, you think we're just gonna get to like raw open some cards at the Hero League Championship?
I think so, which is kind of sad because that means I'm going to require all of y'all to show me the beautiful cards.
Yeah, it would be pretty weird if they don't, but I don't know, guys. It might not happen. It might be the kind of thing where they leave that as an opportunity for us attending to not only be the first to get to see it, but we get to spoil it. We get to take pictures and post it on Facebook and have that internet clout, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely what I kind of see from it. Because, like, honestly, and even if you think about it, like, they haven't even really told us, like, what the Set 4 premiere really is, like, how the format is going to be. So is it, like, just like a big pre-release?
That's true. I assumed it was going to be sealed limited. I assumed you were going to buy your product and just crack it and build decks from it. But now that you mention it, I guess it could potentially be a draft. I don't know.
Yeah, what I was kind of thinking was, like, this is the crazy thought process. Was like they hand you a box and say, here you go, build something.
Like a whole booster box?
Yeah, like a whole booster box. But, like, maybe that's too much. I don't know, though.
Hey, if you want to really sucker people in and print some money, what you do is, I forget who did this. I think Star City Games did stuff like this, but I know of at least one or two stores that would do what was called like a no-limit pre-release, where it's sealed, but you can buy as much product as you want. So, like, each player gets to buy product and build decks from whatever they buy, but you got people who are going to walk in and buy 3 cases and just build a full-on constructed deck because they were going to buy 3 cases anyways, and they just get to, like, absolutely stomp the shit out of their pre-release or whatever. I'm not a huge fan of events like that, but if you want to just make some money, that's definitely a way to go about it.
Yeah. I could see it even being, like, more of a more packs than what a initial pre-release is going to be, and then maybe say build something out of that.
Yeah.
So like sealed, what, 9 packs or whatever. So maybe it's like 18 or something. Yeah. Or maybe they do like a special box and it's like you choose a character and then you get packs with that character. Kind of like Magic pre-releases, how they were the day. Like you choose like the red box and it's like red promo card packs and stuff.
I think most likely it's just going to be a draft or a sealed event. Like it's almost certainly just going to be, I don't know, something fairly normal. Yeah, just 8-pack sealed.
It's like, to me though, I think 8 packs isn't enough. And then, like, currently, how many players do we have going to Worlds for
the Set 4? I don't even know if the 32 people who are qualified for the HLC will have the opportunity to play in the Set 4 premiere event. There's talks of, like, having a media day, like, the day before, although I think that's Thursday. Not having your qualified pro heroes, you know, have access to the Set 4 world premiere would be kind of shitty. It's not the worst thing in the world, but
we have 78 players out of 128 currently for.
We do. It's opt-in sponsored by Jasco Entrance. Oh, the people are qualified, Ken. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I haven't talked to Jasco in a minute. I don't know who's casting, But now that they've showed off like the side events, I'm like, oh man, if I cast the event, I wonder what I could actually participate in. You know, I don't know if they're like, I would hope that they would have coverage for stuff like the Set 4 world premiere, but if that means I don't get to participate, like, you know, that could be bad.
Yeah, I just can't. I can't think I can. I can't swing that money to go to Vegas to play in an event that I'm not completely sure what's going on. Especially if you think about it, and it's like 2 weeks later, I can physically buy Set 4. Why would I?
Wait, is it 2 weeks later? They have a release date?
They have officially not put a release date, I think.
Okay.
I don't know if it's actually 2 weeks, but it's, you know, in the same exact. If it's 3 weeks, a month later, it's like how much money can you spend on a hotel,
right? The
event, food.
My toxic trait is I don't keep up with any news from this game because stuff changes, and like I almost every time I like plan around something. No joke. This is not like to throw shade at Jasco. This is just the reality of life. Every time I plan around something changes. Whether it's Jasco's fault, like whether it's the game's fault, whether it's my personal life, every single time something changes. So, you know, I just try not to get too invested in any announcement that gets made, because as soon as I do, it's just going to ruin it for me.
People are saying March 3rd in the chat.
Yeah, so that's like people who work for stores or like people with Asmodee reps. Asmodee has sent out that information, but I just try to ignore most of the early rumor mill stuff because things are subject to change, and I don't want to get married to the idea that it's actually going to come out on that day. So,
have you seen all the product pictures?
For Set 4?
Yes.
I think so. It's stuff like the starter deck boxes.
The starter deck, the Clash box, the play mats. There's the cheapy DLC. And
I haven't seen the cheapy DLC. I've seen the Clash reunion box.
And then there's that special box which I want to buy a lot of.
Yeah, I'm mixed on that one. I don't know. Like, it's been so long since I've played like normal card games. Like, buying special edition tins and stuff just scares me. I'm always like weirded out. Like, they had tins for Street Fighter that had like really neat cards in them, but I don't think you got a playset to get a playset. I think you had to drop like over $60 or something at least, and I was like, I don't think so. Card's not that cool. But yeah, it's been pretty wild. So you're not going to be there at the HLC, unfortunately, but do you have a prediction for what character you think is going to win the HLC?
Man, I really don't know, because I feel like this is the time where people get to play like their fun decks. This is
the World Championship is when people get to play their fun decks. Well, when we've got $100,000 on the line, that's when we're breaking out the kiddie decks.
Day one, most likely, for sure. But
day one, you gotta scope your meta, man. I don't know, like. People, like, yeah, it's not, like, the highest stakes day one, and you get to, like, play, like, some angle shooter type shit, but I feel like you gotta be playing your number 2 deck, like, whatever deck you think is second best that day.
But my other question to that is, like, so do you think anyone's going to go with the same deck that they went day 1 to day 2?
Oh, at least someone will. There's definitely going to be people who, like, don't want to build more than one deck. Like, we had the Retro Invitational over COVID, where we basically played Legacy for the first time ever, and the Invitational Finals was like a 16-person invite, which was our first Invitational, and the special format for that was you had to build 3 decks, and then your rival would ban one of them, and then you would pick one and play a best 2 out of 3 with just those decks that you picked. The other decks are ignored. And people complained so much about having to build 3 decks. Like, it was like half the people qualified or whatever were like, man, I can only think of 1 deck, and I'm just going to net deck the second deck, but I have to come up with a whole 3rd deck, and, like, I just don't care, and, like, what if they ban out the only deck I want to play? Like, I was very surprised. Most people love Conquest formats, and this wasn't even, like, real Conquest, which, you know, that was my complaint, was that it wasn't, like, a real Conquest. It was, like, halfway. But, yes, I was so surprised how many people just were like, man, building more than 1 deck for an event is hard, like, and sucks, and I hate it.
I mean, to be honest, like, if you asking the question, what do I think would win? I think I'd have to go with Tokiyami or Kirishima.
Wow.
Maybe Jiro, maybe Asui.
Okay.
I know a lot of people think Ojiro 2 is really good. I think Ojiro is good, but he's super high rolly. Like, yeah. And if you think about it, we have answers to Student of the Art, which makes him less consistent.
Yeah. That's it's funny. You did just mention basically the 4 most represented top cuts decks from the Nationals. You did just mention basically the whole meta.
I mean the ban list didn't touch them hard enough for them to change. And
right. I was gonna say, I do think Hiroshima got hit well enough that, like, most people wouldn't want to play him, but I keep seeing people talk about how he's not that bad. You know, it's not that big of a hit, so I guess I wouldn't be that surprised to see him show up.
I think it's just consistent, so, like, it might be like someone's deck day 1,
yeah,
and then they go into something day 2.
Yeah, like, Ready 1 Foundation and Draw a Card is still a pretty solid character ability. And then his response is, like, totally fine, right? Like, the response is, you know, my favorite part about him, even if statistically it might not be the best. You're guaranteed to see turn 3 with that character pretty much all the time, especially now that Stronger in Darkness is banned. So, I definitely think Tokoyami is still, like, as good. Like, I think Tokoyami, like, moves parallel. It's just he's not, like, oopsie daisy gonna kill you on turn 2 anymore. I think people actually, like, build the deck a little better to compensate for losing Crow and Frog. It just won't be as easy, I guess. Like, there will be, like, some risk involved. But I think the deck is, like, as good as long as you still check 5s.
And my reason for, say, Ojiro 2 isn't that great is because I've beaten it pretty consistently with Deku 2, where I think Deku 2 is like a low B, high C tier character.
Yeah.
In that sense, like I played Ojiro 2 and Nats, and I got it to I'm not so scared of a Ojiro where I am scared of a Tokiyami.
One of my only losses was to an Ojiro who just checked poorly on all of his attacks, but it didn't matter because they started out with, like, a Crow and Frog, which doesn't count towards progressive, and I was like, well, I guess I'll just block, you know, I'll just take, like, the lowest damage attack, and he didn't Student of the Art, so I was like, okay, I guess I'm safe. And then he plays a Karate Chop and uses Student of the Art and stuns me for 3 and sends, like, a 7/7, and then he plays, like, a Tongue Whip, and he, you know, sticky balls into my card pool and sends it, like, 7 low for 9 or something. And then he picks up the Karate Chop and stuns, like, you know, turn 2, he's like, stun 6, here's 30 damage, none of it's blockable. So, everyone I did talk to throughout the event, though, and stuff, did mention, like, wow, this is the high rolliest stuff. Like, every time Ojiro was on stream, and I think it was Cody was talking about, like, turn 2ing people all day, everyone's take was, like, this deck should not be this consistent. Here, I gotta let my cat out, like, one second. There you go, bud.
What's that?
I had to let my cat out of the room. I told him before the podcast he would get stuck in here, and, you know, he he woke up right at the end. But yeah,
I mean, I definitely agree. It's definitely the most glass cannon, high rolly deck, and it kind of could just get there. But if I'm going to say like, hey, this is going to win Worlds, I'm not gonna say it's the glass cannon deck.
yeah. It depends. If he goes first, I believe in it. You know, if you get first seed and you pick OG Road 2, I wouldn't blame you, right? Like, I wouldn't be surprised because he's got enough health to face tank, you know, like one attack turn. He doesn't just get oopsie daisied by some raw statted attacks. And at the same time, like, when people were saying, well, I've never done this with OG Row and this seems incredibly consistent, like, the character tutors attacks. Like, let's just talk about it, right? Where, like, the character gives statistically some of the best stats. He doesn't have to pick between speed and damage. Student of the Art can effectively tutor an attack that you want from your discard pile, and that's, like, the worst way to use it. Like, it's very weird to me that people don't think a character who recurs an attack is not consistent, but, you know, there's only one or two that ever make it through Top Cuts. Oh, you're muted. I don't know. We lost sound. I don't know what happened. You're not muted on my screen, but I did just lose sound from you. No, I cannot hear you. We got no sound coming through on Discord. It's not lighting up. Uh-oh. Let's see if we can't fix this real quick. Ooh, we were just at the end, too. I was about to wrap it up. We've actually been doing this.
Oh, what about now? Can you hear me?
You're back, yeah.
All right. I was going to say, I'll fight my words. Anyone will play Ojiro 2? DM me. I'll play it.
Yeah. I do not believe in that character personally, but then I see it with my own eyes, and it's like, oh no, this actually adds up. Like, it adds up that this deck just absolutely waxes people, especially seven-handers, when it goes first.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, like, to me, that's another thing, is like, if it's not Tokiyami, I don't know what seven-hander I played at Worlds either.
Asui would be the only other one.
Oh, I mean, Asui.
Yeah, Asui and Tokoyami are the only seven-handers I feel really comfortable playing in this format. You know, they've just made it so like everybody is so good at dealing damage that 20 health is just like when we talked about Toga versus Sarah 1, the stream game I played. Like 20 health is just so hard to protect, especially against a deck that's playing cards like Tape Swing and cards like Reciprocal Acceleration and stuff like that. So it's a scary world out there. Well,
yeah, but I think Tokiyami is probably best chance.
Yeah. So if you had to pick one of the four meta characters, you're picking Tokoyami?
I think so. I don't think the ban list hurt him enough to where
I think in a contained environment and like a controlled environment, it comes down a lot to who's going to have higher seeding and like their preferences. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Momo win Worlds. That's my hot take, my rogue take, my off meta take is I think if you can go first and you built the deck with like a lot of really specific interaction to target cards like One with Nature down and get rid of stuff like that, I think that there's a world where you can be like sort of prepared for all the meta threats. And Stronger in Darkness and Crow and Frog does kind of tilt the matchup back towards Momo, because Momo used to be the best Tokoyami counter, right? And then One with Nature and Petty Squad, like all the new tools he got, and Jiro got seasoning advantage, just tore her stage up. And I think if you go into it with specific builds in mind, you know, that there's a lot of potential there for Momo to just kind of squeak in. And of course, it would be someone like a Kevin Broberg or a Christopher Bromley, you know, playing it, right? Like the people who really put up results, you know, Travis Tangeman, who put up results with that deck throughout the year. So those guys, they might be able to fall back onto that. Jacob Johnson had a great run with Momo throughout Nationals. So I think that's my pick.
I could see that, I guess.
You know, Momo kind of went out of flavor for a minute there, but I think with a concentrated effort and the ability to compensate for one with nature, I think she can shoot back to the top.
I've seen the meme, I've seen the post on Facebook, and I would love to see this happen too. But everyone from the top 32 get in a chat and just be like, "Hey, we're all taking something different and something unique."
I would be down for that. I think that stuff's really cool. The fact that the tournament is so top heavy is probably going to discourage that unless they all agree to prize split. But I don't know if Jasco is supporting prize restructuring. That's a thing I've talked to a couple people about, but it's just kind of up in the air. No one knows how to really handle it. So if it were me, man, I'm not going to lie. If it were me, I would be down to just prize split 32 ways. You know? With the way that the prizing is set up, it's just even if you're the best player, even if you know you're the best player, the fact that there's a luck-based element to it is it's so weird. It's just so weird to think that the difference between walking away with $1,000 and I think it's $7,000 if you prize split, you have to make top 8 to get more than $7,000 now. So
I mean, to be honest, I'd even be happy just to go and take 32nd place and play inside events.
I mean, I felt that way before I found out 32nd place only gets $1,000. I don't know if have you seen the people posted? They got the email for the pricing breakdown.
I saw a little bit about it on Tam's stream before this one, and I was just saying I would be able to go to Worlds with free of charge, and they get paid $1,000.
It's not bad. It's hard to complain being a Universus player from the past, right? Going from literally nothing to $1,000 is pretty cool. But all the people who traveled a whole bunch and went to Gen Con and went to Origins and they traveled to Toronto, a lot of those people were probably expecting a little bit better payout for 32nd. And then people did talk about is it worth 3 days, 4 days, 5 days of PTO? You've got to be there by Thursday, and then I think they're stuck there until Monday for post media. They want to get interviews, post recap, stuff like that. Make sure you're there available. So realistically, you got to take Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. That's a week, you know what I mean? So maybe you don't have to take Wednesday off, but you have to fly out Thursday or whatever. 5 days of time off is usually more than $1,000 for most people. So it's not something to bite my thumb at, but at the same time, it is just a very strange decision on my side. It's the kind of thing where, again, just walking away with $7,000 is $1,000 is 1 month's rent. $7,000 is more than half the year. So it's little things like that where the other thing is if you do manage to do the price split, then you're free to do all kinds of crazy wacky shit. And I don't know. I think it would make sure everyone goes home happy, whereas now the guy who gets 5th place is gonna feel like shit compared to the person who got 4th place, because the person who got 4th place is gonna get nearly triple the payout.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but at that point, if everyone got paid the same, where's the drive to be number one, right?
Well, and that's why from Jasco's standpoint, I don't think they'd want prize restructuring and stuff like that, but for me personally, I think the bragging rights are legitimate. I think that, just the type of person I am, I would still want to be number one for the personal bragging rights. I just wouldn't have the undue stress and resentment for cashing out at, you know, a fraction of what people who won 2 more rounds than me got. You know, it's just...
I don't know how I don't know how normal worlds would like play out or HLC would play out in other card games, because this is like the first game I try to be competitive in. But I would rather see like a day 1 go to like top cut, top 6, and then the day 2 those 6 people play. Like why are we doing 2 different days of 2 different decks? It just seems kind of weird to me.
So the first day has to determine seeding, because there's no really good way to determine seeding from the 32 people. Because like Kevin Broberg qualified by making top 8, but he also has the most RLE points. So what seed do you put him in? You know?
Why not just randomize it?
Well, random seeding, then they'd have to dice roll for every round. You'd have to get rid of the top seed goes first.
I mean, that's fine.
I mean,
in my opinion,
you know, I think they just, they wanted to get a bracket. I think they're big fans of brackets, and so you gotta determine seeding to do the bracket. I'm glad they're doing a multiple format thing. I do think that like being able to play more than one deck, having like a different format, having like some division between day 1 and day 2, I'm like super down for. It is just kind of blasé to be like, hey, we're just going to do Swiss, and then we're just going to do the elimination, and it's basically 2 separate tournaments. But I'm glad that there's some deck variety, because I want to see the fast adaptation, the 24-hour turnaround adaptation from people. I think that will be really interesting.
Okay. You could just have people draw numbers through a box like Dragon Ball Z used to have, like have everyone like on the stream come to a box, pick up a number, and just go.
Yeah. Again, you'd have to get rid of the rule for seeding going first, but I mean that is a thing to do. But anyways, man, I do want to wrap this up. We've actually been at this for almost 3 hours, if you can believe it. We definitely went a little longer than I thought. I want to thank all the people in the chat for joining us. Anyone who stayed after the Tam Cardwell raid, I want to thank Tam for dropping the raid on us. I want to thank Charles for joining me here and giving me some very interesting perspectives from someone who has been with My Hero for a little over a year now.
Yeah, and I appreciate the chance to come on and talk to you and share my opinions, and love the chat coming in and sharing their opinions as well.
Yeah, we definitely had a great chat. We had a nice active chat. I'm going to give you this opportunity. Is there any shout-outs? Anyone you want to mention? Anything you want to plug while I've got you here on the stream?
Man, shout out to the Louisiana crew, Still Fox Games.
Okay.
And, I mean, for the lookout, look out for me maybe spreading into YouTube or Twitch.
Okay. We got
I have no idea when, but I kind of like the idea of maybe stepping my foot into it. Just got to figure out how to start.
The easiest way is to find a game that people play. Find a game where there's auto matching. That has been the biggest thing for me is like idle content. So that's my advice is like I'm probably gonna start playing other games on stream just so I have like an avenue to talk to people about Universus. Where like maybe I'm playing like Magic Arena, but I'm still talking to UFS fans, Universus fans about Universus, because that's a whole nother podcast. We get forever on that stuff. But like I want to stream more myself, and it's tough to go live and just be like I have to have something to be doing for people. I have to be like staying busy, not just talking or like not just sitting here waiting for people to talk to. But I
thought about just picking up a day and then like getting in the Discord, but like, hey, webcam match, and then like incorporating the chat and chat as well, and just doing a whole bunch of games, and then maybe having like a prize support if someone beats me and stuff like that.
Oh, I would love to just have prizing. If I could give out prizing, that'd be super tight. But doing it at cost would not be good for me at all.
I mean, true, but like buy a booster box and love like first edition, and then like, hey, you get a pack if you beat me.
Yeah, the postage would kill me. I would lose. I'd lose too much, and the postage would drown me. But that's really exciting. You know, if you want to start content creation, I always tell people all you got to do is just start doing it. You know, just even if it's bad, even if you don't think it's any good or whatever, just if you'd be bad at it long enough, eventually you'll improve anyway. You know, so that's all my old content I cringe horribly at, and it is what it is. It's, you know, you're never gonna start. You're always gonna get better anyway, so you're always gonna look back and cringe at the beginning.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch this video when you put it on YouTube and just be like, oh man.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a whole nother world when you're hearing yourself through the speakers. But yeah, that's gonna do it for us tonight, guys. Thank you all once again. If you're watching this on YouTube, please drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hopefully this was an interesting look into the mind of a new head, the mind of a newer player. So hopefully we'll see you around in the future, Charles, at future events and possibly on Twitch.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Next week, Thursdays, 6 p.m. I might be taking next week off because of the holidays. Not 100% sure yet, but we've got Christmas coming up. So if I don't see you guys before then, happy holidays. If I don't see you before the New Year's because everything's so busy, happy New Year. But the next event I'm planning to do is reading out the Dear Santa list on Christmas Eve. So definitely check that out if you have the chance. But I'm Sam Tate. I was joined by Charles Crayton. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Ciao, guys. Bye.